Chapter 10:25. And I. As the third word of the mantra was uttered, the strange power reappeared. The excitement in Zi-Chen's heart could no longer be expressed in words. The power of the Buddhist sect's 6 syllables was unimaginable. Once fully comprehended, one would be almost invincible. At this moment, Zi-Chen had mastered 3 syllables in a row. He was really excited. In his sea of consciousness, Zi-Chen's 3 syllables were uttered at the same time, forming a strange power that was even more powerful. As Zi-Chen comprehended, a shadow gradually condensed behind him. This shadow was extremely tall and emitted a bright golden light, releasing an oppressive aura. This was a shadow that looked exactly like Zi-Chen. It was as tall as a devil and emitted a fierce aura. However, as Zi-Chen comprehended the power of the mantra, the fierce aura on the devil's shadow slowly faded and was replaced by a peaceful aura. The devil's shadow that was originally condensed with the power of thunder and lightning was now surging with Buddhist power. As Zi-Chen's power of the mantra improved by leaps and bounds, the Buddhist power on the devil's shadow behind him also became stronger. It seemed that, at this moment, the devil's shadow was showing signs of enlightenment and turning into a Buddha. Beside Zi-Chen, the monk stopped comprehending and his eyes were shining again. There was no aura around him, but he could feel a strong and pure Buddhist power around him. The monk turned around and saw Zi-Chen at a glance. Immediately, his pupils shrank and his face was full of disbelief. At this moment, Zi-Chen looked solemn and compassionate. If he did not have hair, he would be a living monk, and a monk with extremely pure Buddhist power. Behind him, the tall devil's shadow had also turned into the shadow of a monk full of compassion. Along the way, Zi-Chen had killed countless people. Naturally, it was impossible for him to be a Buddha. He could only be a demon. However, at this moment, Zi-Chen had turned from a demon into a Buddha. Moreover, it was a Buddha with pure Buddhist power. Clearly, this indicated that Zi-Chen was different. If it was in the past when the two of them had just met, the monk would naturally be happy to see such a situation. He might even lend Zi-Chen a helping hand and gloat at the sight of a demon becoming a Buddha. However, their many years of interaction and friendship that had lasted for hundreds of years had made the two of them brothers. They had become sworn friends who would go through life and death together. Naturally, he could not watch Zi-Chen turn into a Buddha. Ah! The monk placed one hand on Zi-Chen's shoulder, and his spiritual thoughts vibrated with the power of the mantra. This was the purest 3-syllable mantra. When it landed in Zi-Chen's sea of consciousness, it was as if a great bell was ringing, causing him to quiver and instantly sober up. Zi-Chen woke up, and the Buddhist power around his body slowly dissipated. The Buddhist shadow behind him also dimmed. At the same time, the comprehension of the power of the mantra in his sea of consciousness also became illusory and blurry. What's going on? Zi-Chen woke up and then felt the changes in the essence force in his body. There was actually Buddhist energy, and his face immediately changed. "You almost turned into a Buddha," the monk said. "Turned into a Buddha, damn it." When Zi-Chen heard this, he cursed angrily. His body surged with a surging aura. In his body, his qi and blood were boiling, and his tendons and bones were humming. Wave after wave of energy washed every corner of Zi-Chen's body. At the same time, in abdomen and his sea of consciousness, perfect essence force and perfect spiritual thoughts were also sweeping and probing every corner. Although Zi-Chen had some appreciation for the monk, he greatly hated becoming a monk. If he became a monk and forbade the 7 emotions and 6 desires, what would happen to his confidence? Moreover, Zi-Chen was decisive in killing. How could he become a Buddha if he was a devil? Ah! Just as Zi-Chen was trying his best to remove the hidden dangers in his body, the stone wall in front of him suddenly lit up. Then a Buddha shadow appeared on it. From the mouth of the Buddha shadow, a mantra was uttered. This mantra vibrated towards Zi-Chen. The Buddhist power that had been dispersed around Zi Chen's body condensed again, flowing to all parts of his body like blood. The Buddhist shadow that had just dissipated behind him also condensed again. Damn it! Feeling that a part of the power in his body was out of control, Zi Chen's face was filled with anger. He immediately sat down cross-legged and began to circulate his cultivation technique. This was a cultivation technique recorded in the heavenly book that cultivated one's essence, qi and spirit to perfection. Zi Chen circulated it over and over again, and the perfect power began to attack the out-of-control power. Ama. In the stone wall, the monk's shadow uttered 3 syllables. 3 strange powers fused into Zi Chen's body. The pure Buddhist power began to clash head-on with the perfect power in Zi Chen's body. Monk, good, and evil stood at the side with an anxious expression, but he did not dare to help. One had to know that he was a monk and had Buddhist power in his body. If he went forward to help, it would only make things worse. It would only strengthen the out-of-control Buddhist power in Zi Chen's body. Now he could only wait for the outcome of the 2 powers to be decided. Under normal circumstances, Zi Chen's perfect power would naturally win. This was because perfect power was the dominant power in Zi Chen's body. There were many reasons, and the battle was in Zi Chen's body. This was the home field advantage. However, this small amount of Buddhist power contained another power. This power was also Buddhist power, but its quality was very high. Furthermore, Zi Chen felt that this power had its own thoughts. At this moment, although this power was small, it was like a well-trained elite soldier. It could match Zi Chen's power. Of course, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that this power's realm was higher than Zi Chen's. Therefore, the 2 types of energy were currently evenly matched. Time passed. Zi Chen remained motionless. The shadow in the stone wall was also sitting cross-legged. The mighty power formed by the 3-syllable mantra constantly vibrated out. Gradually, the perfect power in Zi Chen's body was suppressed. The Buddhist power around him took the lead and began to corrode the perfect power. The perfect power actually lost to the Buddhist power. Upon seeing this scene, the monk was clearly alarmed. When he looked at the shadow on the stone wall again, the monk's face clearly had a smile. It was a gratified and benevolent smile. Seeing that Zi Chen was about to successfully transform from a demon into a Buddha, the shadow's smile bloomed completely. Monk good and evil vaguely heard a hearty laugh. However, in the next moment, the laughter came to an abrupt halt as though someone was strangling it. 3 golden beams of light suddenly lit up on Zi Chen's body. The first golden beam of light was at his glabella, the second was at abdomen, and the third was at his heart. The moment the 3 golden beams of light appeared, they were like 3 sharp blades that stabbed into the stone wall in front of him. Following that, monk good and evil heard an exclamation from the stone wall. Heavenly book. It's actually a heavenly book. Ah. The exclamation disappeared along with the shadow on the stone wall. Following that, the stone wall emitted cracking sounds as cracks spread across the half-broken stone wall. The Buddhist power in Zi Chen's body began to recede as the perfect power took the initiative again. At the same time, the golden light circulating on the 3 pages of heavenly book in his body also joined in the cleansing of the Buddhist power. In just a few breaths of time, all the Buddhist power was cleansed. Zi Chen turned into a demon once again. He opened his eyes with a cold and sharp gaze. Pum! The half-broken stone wall in front of him that had spread to its limits instantly exploded into pieces. What a pity! An eternal mantra has disappeared just like that. Monk Good and Evil was relieved when he saw that Zi Chen was fine. Then he sighed and lamented. Although the stone wall was strange, it did not pose any harm to the people of the Buddhist sect. Furthermore, there was a half-word mantra on it. It was an inheritance treasure that could drive the Buddhists crazy. Unfortunately, it was destroyed. That was close. After getting up, Zi Chen sighed. It was close. If the stone wall wasn't half broken, you would probably be my junior brother in the future." Monk Good and Evil joked, "Buddhist items are really mysterious. Let's leave this place." Zi Qin still felt some lingering fear. He had almost been tricked without any warning. After leaving the underground, the two of them continued on their path of purification. Zi Qin tried to sense the 3 words mantra, but he discovered that the extremely clear sounds and ripples had become blurry at that moment. It was as if there was a thin layer of fog blocking the front. It was impossible to get rid of it, and he could not see it clearly. Everything repeated itself. Zi Chen and Monk Good and Evil saw the young monk again. However, the young monk was now middle-aged. When he saw the two of them, he changed his tone for the first time. He looked at Zi Chen and said, "To be able to come out so smoothly, you really are extraordinary." "Who are you?" Zi Chen asked. The middle-aged monk only laughed and then left. From the beginning to the end, he did not attack the two of them. As the two of them went deeper, their expressions gradually became solemn. This was because the young monk was slowly aging. In the end, he had become a bald old man. His beard and eyebrows were white and there were wrinkles on his face. However, his eyes were extremely bright. "I'll be waiting for you in the depths." These were the last words the old monk said. From then on, he did not appear again. Old monk, old ghost was more like it. In Zi Qin and Monk Good and Evil, the old monk was definitely an old ghost. He might even be the old ghost king. Along the way, while the monk was purifying, his expression also became solemn. He was silent and did not say a word for several days. Finally, after spending an unknown amount of time, the monk purified all the otherworldly items here. At the same time, he searched the many pagodas here. However, apart from the half-word mantra, he found nothing else. As the last otherworldly item dissipated, the baleful energy in the area completely disappeared. From the collapsed buildings, collapsed doors, and remnant weapons, golden light was released. The golden light represented Buddhist power. At that moment, the entire world was filled with a peaceful and tranquil aura. However, there was a hint of loneliness in this aura. Golden light appeared and floated towards the sky. Following that, it transformed into a ball of golden light. The golden light was like flowing water as it twisted and straightened in the air as though someone was pulling it. Finally, it transformed into a golden mirror that occupied half the sky. Zi Qin and the monk's gazes landed on the golden mirror. The golden mirror began to glow with boundless Buddhist light. After the light faded, there was an additional image in the golden mirror. In the image was a complete Buddhist sect. Pagodas stood tall, and the tips of the pagodas emitted boundless Buddhist light that completely enveloped the area. The Buddhist light was like a natural barrier that protected the Buddhist sect. The wind and sand could not blow in, and the rain could not fall. The entire world was golden. It was completely a holy land, a pure land. However, in the mirror, blood rain suddenly fell. The blood rain passed through the Buddhist light and landed on the Buddhist land. Chapter 10:26. A gigantic foot stepped into the land of Buddhism, shattering the Buddhist light. A glowing golden pagoda was crushed under the foot. After the gigantic foot, another gigantic foot surged with terrifying energy. The earth rumbled, and 2 pagodas were destroyed. The number of casualties was incalculable. The sudden turn of events caused the Buddhist sect to fall into chaos. Some of the ordinary disciples fled in panic, while some of the strong ones rushed over. After the gigantic foot, a huge figure came into the world of Buddhism sect. It was a demonic shadow, thousands of meters tall. A tyrannical aura surged around him as he went on a killing spree in the land of Buddhism. The demonic shadow's eyes were cold and turbid. It was as if he had lost his mind and only knew how to kill. No matter what the monks said or asked, he would only kill. He killed Buddha on sight. Blood rained down from the demonic shadow's body. Every time the demonic shadow attacked, a large amount of blood would splatter from his body. His shoulder armor was pierced by 2 chains. His wrists, nose, and ankles were covered with black iron chains. There were runes engraved on the black iron chains, preventing the demonic shadow from getting rid of them. However, when he attacked, he also moved the iron chains. Every time he attacked, the iron chains would pierce through the air with a sharp sound, whipping away and killing many monks. Could this be the demon king sealed in the Buddhism sect? Seeing the thing in the mirror, Zi Chen and Tyrant's expressions changed. Soon, the real experts of Buddhism sect arrived. Rays of Buddhist light appeared one after another, and various powerful Buddhist techniques appeared. During this period, other than the 6 runes mantra, there were also Buddhist sealing techniques. They shouted loudly to seal the demon. Then, swastikas appeared one after another, emitting dazzling golden light, pressing down on the demon king. There were many experts in the Buddhism sect. Soon, the demon king was suppressed. However, at this moment, a dark passage appeared in the sky above the Buddhism sect. Many demons rushed out from the passage. After that, a great war between Buddhism and demons broke out. The strength of the demon experts was so terrifying that they suppressed the Buddhism sect. 20,000 years ago, this battle could be said to have a huge impact. The version that was circulated in the outside world was that the Buddhist sect was destroyed by the devil race. The Jin family destroyed the devil race and saved the Buddhist sect. That was how the Buddhist sect came to be. The battle began. Just as the rumors said, the Buddhist sect was no match for the devil clan. Countless of their disciples were killed or injured. However, the devil clan was still lacking if they wanted to annihilate the Buddhist sect. Soon, a turning point appeared. The void broke open again, and another force descended from the sky. This force was made up of humans. They were dressed in black and looked like assassins. However, they did not conceal themselves. After they appeared, they immediately attacked the monks of the Buddhist sect. The final result of this battle was the annihilation of the Buddhist sect, the annihilation of the devil race, and the disappearance of the devil king. In the end, the Jin family came to clean up the battlefield and cleaned up the corpses of the black-robed humans. The inherited techniques of the Buddhist sect were all swept away. Of course, some were left for the survivors. Due to the deaths of too many disciples, this area seemed to have become a place where baleful aura gathered. During the day, Buddhist light illuminated everything, while at night, demonic aura soared into the sky. Some cultivators who came to investigate died for no reason. In the end, this place became a forbidden area. The surviving disciples of the Buddhist sect also withdrew from this place. Zi Qin and the good and evil monk quietly watched the scene reflected in the golden mirror. They were speechless for a long time. If it was a guess before, they were now certain that the disappearance of the Buddhist sect was done on purpose. These people were either the Jin family or the 5 Elements forces. The mirror in the sky did not disappear. The strange phenomenon on the Buddhist sect ruins also appeared frequently. In the end, a formation suddenly appeared and enveloped the entire ruins. At this point, the Buddhist sect ruins disappeared from the world. The sacred ground became a place where baleful aura gathered. The yin qi was extremely strong. In addition, there were even more evil thoughts. These monks had done good in their lives, so it was inevitable that evil thoughts would arise in their hearts when they died for no reason. If there was evil, there would naturally be good. However, as time passed, there were more and more evil thoughts. Gradually, some otherworldly items appeared. As for the remaining good thoughts, they were suppressed by the evil thoughts and became fewer and fewer. Finally, one day, the good thoughts were pushed aside by the evil thoughts. It was as if they were going to disappear from the world. At this moment, the good thoughts suddenly transformed. A golden light was produced from it like a sarira. All the good thoughts gathered in the sarira. There was no more good in this area, only evil. At the same time, an evil sarira was produced from the enormous evil thoughts. 2 sariras, one good and one evil, rushed into the sky and met in the sky. They were like 2 balls of yin and yang spinning around each other. This situation lasted for an unknown period of time. 1,000 years, 10,000 years. In short, one day, the coexisting good and evil suddenly coexisted and connected together. The light of good and evil exploded. The entire evil thought creature prostrated. A figure walked out from the dazzling light. It was a person. It was a chubby little monk who was only 7 or 8 years old. The little monk was born. His eyes were still blank. At this moment, he was enveloped by the light of good and evil. He looked up at the sky and muttered to himself, "My name is Evil Good." With that said, the Buddhist light disappeared. The little monk disappeared. Zi Chen's expression changed drastically. His heart was in turmoil. Clearly, the evil good monk from before was the present evil good monk. The similarity between the two of them was as high as 80%. A monk suddenly appearing in a barbarian land was already suspicious, not to mention a monk who could control the power of mantras. Even though Zichen guessed that the monk was extremely extraordinary, he never expected him to not be human. Instead, he was formed from the good and evil thoughts of the Buddhist sect. It was hard to believe. An existence like evil good could be considered a spirit body. Furthermore, his background was even nobler than a spirit body. However, he didn't have the strength to match a spirit body. This left Zichen very puzzled. Suddenly, Zichen felt a killing intent coming from beside him. He turned around and saw the monk glaring at him with a ferocious expression. "What are you doing?" Zichen looked at the monk. "I'm going to kill you." The monk glared at him as evil thoughts arose. "Are you crazy?" Zichen asked again. "You saw something you shouldn't have seen and learned a secret you shouldn't know." "I'm going to silence you," the monk said fiercely. "Crazy." Zichen slapped down, but the monk successfully dodged. Following that, the ferocious expression on his face disappeared and was replaced with pride. He puffed out his chest and raised his head, looking down at Zichen. "After seeing all this, you should know that my background is extraordinary." Zichen said, "I finally know why you are so unique. So it's the combination of good and evil. Your background seems to be even more impressive than a spirit body, but your strength is really nothing to be praised." This was probably the monk's only weakness at the moment. He hummed for a long time, but couldn't give a reason. In fact, the monk's background was extremely noble. His foundation was not inferior to a lightning spirit's at all. He gathered the good and evil thoughts of the Buddhist sect and was perhaps even stronger than a lightning spirit's background. Unfortunately, both of them were almost the same. They were born prematurely. However, the lightning spirit's birth was because of Zichen and could be considered a man-made disaster. The birth of the good and evil monk could be considered a natural disaster, because there were simply too many evil thoughts. If they were not born in advance, the good thoughts would be obliterated. At that time, the one who came out would be a pure evil monk. At that time, the monk's strength would naturally be extremely strong, but the destructive power of evil without good would be unimaginable. When the good and evil monk appeared, the golden mirror dispersed with a bang and turned into light spots again. These light spots were pure Buddhist power and could also be called good thoughts. The Buddhist power spread, and the entire world turned golden. In the next moment, a golden Buddha figure appeared. The golden Buddha figure sat cross-legged, but it was still 10,000 feet tall. The golden light behind its head shone resplendently. This was a real Buddha statue. It could also be called a big Buddha statue. When Zichen saw the Buddha statue, he was shocked. The monk was the same. When he saw the 10,000 feet tall Buddha, he was also shocked. What a big bald thief! What kind of realm is this? The monk shouted. When the big Buddha in front of him heard this, he frowned slightly. A golden light shot out from his fingertips and entered the monk's glabella. He didn't even have the chance to react. Amitabha. When the golden light entered the glabella, the monk's shocked expression suddenly disappeared. Then his expression became calm. He put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. Good and evil. The golden Buddha statue opened its mouth. Its voice was loud and clear as if it came from ancient times. Amitabha, good and evil greets master. The monk put his palms together again and bowed respectfully. Chen looked at the monk and then at the Buddha statue. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. At the same time, he thought of the big bald thief that the monk said and couldn't help but laugh. Junior brother, welcome back. In front of the Buddha statue, a light flashed and a figure appeared. It was an old monk. This old monk was the one who turned from a teenager to a young man and then to an old monk. At first, Zi-chan thought that he was a big ghost. He didn't expect him to call the monk junior brother. Good and evil greets, senior brother. The monk bowed to the old monk. Monk, are you crazy? What senior brother and master? Are you stupid? Chen reminded the monk. He was afraid that the monk would fall into the illusion. After all, he had just called the Buddha statue a bald thief. The monk turned his head and looked at Chen meaningfully. Chen felt that the look in his eyes was strange. His heart skipped a beat and his expression changed immediately. He took 5 steps back and pointed at the monk. You are not a monk. Little benefactor, what do you mean? The monk looked kind and gentle. Little your mother. Die. Hearing this distant and unfamiliar voice, Chen was enraged. He cursed angrily and rushed toward the monk. Die. Chen shouted. He pushed the power in his body to the limit and made a perfect attack. The golden light of the fist distorted the space and made an ear-piercing sound. It contained an unimaginable destructive power. The Buddha statue and the old monk didn't react. They allowed Chen to strike. Amitabha. The monk chanted the Buddha name again. Chen hated this Buddha name. A golden light barrier appeared around the monk. On the surface of the light barrier, other than the golden Buddhist patterns, there were monks chanting scriptures. These monks were like evil good and evil. They were clearly his incarnations. This was the Buddhist protective divine power that Zi-chan was most familiar with. It was as famous as Zi-chen's 9 lightning deaths. One was known as the strongest defense, while the other was known as the strongest speed. Chapter 10:27. Zi-chen's heavy blow landed, followed by an earth-shattering sound. A visible energy ripple spread out. The strongest defense in the world had blocked this attack. It was indeed worthy of its reputation. The force of Zi-chen's attack was dissipating. The monk's protective light shield was trembling, but there were no signs of it breaking. Evil good and evil monk had completely blocked this attack, but Zi-chen's attack was not over yet. He flashed in front of evil good and launched a close-range attack. Elbows, fingers, fists, palms, all kinds of attacks appeared, displaying powerful force. This was close-range combat. Zi-chen had learned it from perfect physique and could evolve perfect physique to the extreme. The light shield on evil good and evil good's body began to tremble. It lasted for 3 breaths before exploding with a loud bang. The monk took a few steps back and dodged Zi-chen's next attack. With the light shield broken, the 2 of them did not speak. The monk pointed his finger and a golden light flashed. A swastika appeared, shining with boundless golden light as it rushed towards Zi-chen. The swastika was filled with extremely pure Buddhist power and emitted a powerful pressure. It collided with Zi-chen's fist. Amidst the tremors, Zi-chen broke the swastika mantra, but he was forced back a few steps. The 2 of them began to display their fierce attacks. The monk's attacks were endless, and most of them were not used before. As a result, Zi-chen was even more suspicious of the person in front of him being a monk. The old monk and the Buddha statue were watching the battle quietly. They did not speak or communicate with each other through voice transmission. The void trembled as a golden palm print slammed down, bringing with it a torrential amount of pressure. At the center of the golden palm print, there was a swastika character. Right now, the attacks that the monk was using were all top-notch mystic skills of the Buddhist sections. Zi-chen shouted as he leaped into the air and punched. In terms of techniques and divine abilities, he was inferior to the monk. However, he could use brute force to overcome brute force. He mobilized the power of his essence, chi and spirit. His attack was not inferior to techniques and divine abilities at all. The two of them fought fiercely. With the addition of various techniques and divine abilities, the monk's combat strength was not inferior to Zichen's. He did not show any signs of losing in a short period of time. Tyrant's expression gradually changed, and he became depressed. When he attacked again, he increased his strength. "All right, stop fighting. You're no match for me." After one strike, Zichen suddenly retreated and spoke. "I'm no match for you." The monk glared at him. Zichen smiled coldly. This monk was really cunning. He deliberately showed that kind of expression just now. It seemed that he wanted to fight with Zichen, especially after the epiphany. He was full of confidence in his combat strength. Again, the monk shouted. He was not convinced and rushed toward Zichen. "You can't blame me if you're looking for trouble," Zichen said coldly, and the power surging around him turned into gold and silver. The two powers began to circulate, and an extremely violent aura surged from Zichen's body. Yin and Yang. With a loud shout, Zichen began to form seals with his left and right hands. As the seals fell, a golden sun and a silver crescent moon appeared. Both of them emitted a terrifying and powerful aura as they rushed towards the monk. Pum! The monk's strongest defense was broken, and he was sent flying. Zichen turned into a two-colored light and went forward to fight in close combat. The gold and silver lights flashed continuously. Not only did Zichen's attack contain perfect power, it also contained perfect essence energy. Furthermore, it was the yin and yang essence energy. Pum! 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 The monk's defense was broken again and again, and he was sent flying again and again. It could be said that he was in a sorry state. After sending the monk flying with another punch, Zichen asked coldly, "Do you still want to fight?" The monk grinned. He was not convinced, but he knew that there was a gap between the two of them. Even though the Buddha statue and the old monk did not say anything, their expressions were somewhat uncomfortable. Suddenly, the old monk's eyes flashed. He raised his head and looked at the Buddha statue. At this moment, the eyes of the Buddha statue blinked. "Junior brother, welcome back. It's just that your understanding of the technique is still lacking, and your mastery is not complete. I'll impart to you a Buddhist mystique now." The old monk said, "Amitabha." A golden light appeared from the eyes of the Buddha statue. Then, Zichen's world turned golden. Time seemed to rewind at this moment, returning to the scene when Zichen accidentally entered the monk's world and obtained the inheritance of the Buddhist sect. In this golden world, there were many golden dots of light, and each dot of light represented a technique or mystique. At this moment, all the techniques of the Buddhist sect were displayed in front of the evil, good monk. Of course, they were also displayed in front of Zichen. The Buddhist sect's inheritance was like a peerless treasure. Any one of the many light spots would be able to obtain the qualifications to become an expert. So many techniques. Looking at the thousands of golden light spots, Zichen's heart was burning. However, the old monk was so kind. The answer was obviously impossible. The fact that the other party was willing to display the techniques in front of him without holding back proved that he had not given up on the idea of turning him into a Buddha. Therefore, this was an open scheme. As long as Zichen was tempted, he would definitely be turned into a Buddha. However, with so many techniques, how could Zichen not be tempted? This was like a poor man suddenly seeing a mountain of gold. Even if he knew that there was some kind of danger, he would still give it a try. At this moment, Zichen also had this kind of wishful thinking in his heart. He walked among the thousands of light spots. Techniques and supernatural powers appeared in front of him one after another. As he probed with his spiritual thoughts, detailed introductions appeared. Among them, there was the talisman of the swastika that the monk used before the strongest defense, and other techniques and supernatural powers. This included weapon refining, medicine refining, and many other aspects. It could be said that this was all the inheritances of the Buddhist sect that could be left behind. At this moment, if the people of the Jin family were to appear, they would be shocked to find that among these supernatural powers, there were actually the ones that they had plundered before. Although Zichen wanted to obtain thousands of techniques, he knew that he could not be greedy. He walked straight to the power of mantra. There were a total of 6 words, divided into 6 light spots, side by side in front of him. The mantra of the 6 words was the representative of many supernatural powers of the Buddhist sect. It was extremely powerful. Outside the golden light world, the old monk suddenly said, "Master, he is in front of the mantra." The Buddhist statue did not speak, nor did it nod. However, it could naturally see what was happening in the golden light world. He has 3 pages of the heavenly book on him, and he is also a member of the Aboriginals. If we convert him, will the Aboriginals be unhappy? The old monk asked again. The Buddhist statue finally opened its mouth. Its voice that seemed to come from ancient times sounded, "We have not converted him. Why would they be unhappy?" The old monk's expression turned cold. He put his palms together and said, "Amitabha, Buddha is merciful. We have indeed not converted the young benefactor. Everything is fate. The young benefactor is like the Buddha." The Buddhist statue did not speak. The old monk did not speak either. In the golden world, Zichen had already begun to comprehend the first word of the mantra. This was the cultivation method that Zichen had decided to comprehend after careful consideration. This was because he was most familiar with the first word of the mantra of the 6 words. Now he was only one step away from fully comprehending the mantra. Once he broke through, the secret of the mantra would be revealed in front of Zichen without any reservation. Behind Zichen, the tall demonic shadow appeared again. At this moment, the demonic shadow was emitting a dense killing intent. This was also the result of Zichen's careful consideration. Even if he had to spend more time, he would not allow himself to be converted. Therefore, the monstrous killing intent would allow him to remain in his demonic state and not be converted into a Buddha. Smart, but it's useless, the old monk thought to himself. When Zichen began to comprehend the mantra, the killing intent behind him began to weaken. Then, the golden Buddhist power appeared again. Kill, kill, kill. Zichen's spiritual thoughts emitted an even stronger killing intent. At the same time, the perfect cultivation method in his body was circulating, dispersing every strand of Buddhist power that tried to enter this place. During this period, in order to strengthen his killing intent, Zichen thought of all the people that could and should be killed. The first thing that came to his mind was the Aboriginals. The Aboriginals and the Aboriginals were irreconcilable enemies. At the thought of the Aboriginals, Zichen's killing intent rose. It was extremely strong. However, this killing intent only lasted for a moment before it weakened again. Kill, kill, kill. Zichen thought of his enemies again. In the end, he could only think of the 5 elements. Moreover, he found that when he thought of the 5 elements, his killing intent was even stronger than that of the Aboriginals. The demonic shadow stood motionless behind Zichen. Its killing intent was so strong that it almost materialized. This could indeed ensure that Zichen would not be converted, but it was not very useful for comprehending the power of the mantra. The old monk knew very well that if Zichen did not become a Buddha, he would not be able to comprehend the power of the mantra. This was impossible. Become a Buddha. He laughed in his heart, waiting for Zichen to become a Buddha. Zichen sat cross-legged, motionless. The mantra appeared repeatedly in his sea of consciousness, producing a strange power. He seemed to have entered a meditative state. The killing intent kept the last trace of clarity for him. His whole person entered the sea of the mantra's power. Zichen was immersed in it. Gradually, he found that the mantra's power changed. The mantra that was full of Buddhist power became full of killing intent. The moment this killing intent appeared, Chen seemed to have a flash of lightning in his sea of consciousness. This lightning cut through the sea of consciousness, dispelling the fog and naturally penetrating the thin membrane. Chen came to his senses and understood everything. Using Buddhist power was the mantra's power. Using elemental power and killing intent was also the mantra's power. Only the nature was different, but the power was the same. This was just like how there were 3,000 roads, but the end point was the Great Tao. After understanding this, Chen understood the mantra's power. Following this, it was much easier for him to comprehend. He was like a thirsty passerby, enjoying the wine to his heart's content. The killing intent behind Chen dissipated. The demonic shadow was still a demonic shadow. The Buddhist power could no longer corrode or assimilate it. At this moment, it was as if the demonic shadow had turned into a solid body. It was flawless and indestructible. The old monk naturally found something strange and softly exclaimed. Just as Chen was in reality, Chen suddenly opened his mouth. Hum. The first word of the 6-syllable mantra appeared. An inexplicable power appeared and shook. There was no Buddhist power in this power, only killing intent and destructive power. Chapter 10:28. The power of the mantra shook in this world, but it was the opposite of the power of the Buddhist mantra. How is this possible? The old monk's expression changed as he shouted. There was also a strange look in the Buddha's eyes, but it quickly turned into admiration. Master, how is this possible? He didn't turn into a Buddha, but he comprehended the power of the mantra. The old monk's tone had changed. This kid's comprehension is really terrifying. He's not the first to turn the Buddhist skill into his own battle skill, but he's definitely the one who did it in the shortest time. Moreover, it's the power of the mantra. It's really incredible. The Buddha's admiration was enough to prove that Chen was extraordinary. In fact, Chen's comprehension was really average. He could comprehend so quickly because of his perfect spiritual sense and the power of the mantra. The old monk was still in disbelief. He knew that the Buddhist skill was not used by the people of the Buddhist sect, but it didn't mean that he could accept that the power of the mantra could be comprehended by outsiders. The old monk still couldn't figure it out and still couldn't understand. But at this moment, Chen spoke again. Ma. The second sound of the 6 syllables mantra shook with great power once again. The old monk was obviously shocked and completely lost his composure. He shouted, "How is this possible? This is the second sound of the mantra." He actually comprehended it so quickly, so quickly. The Buddha said, "Mastery of one skill, mastery of all skills, mastery of all skills." The old monk trembled and said in disbelief, "Master, you mean that if he's given enough time he can comprehend all the Buddhist skills here?" "Yes." Without waiting for the old monk to answer, Chen's third sound of the mantra made the old monk tremble and almost fall to the ground. Yes. The Buddha's answer confirmed the old monk's guess. The old monk's eyes were still in shock, but his expression slowly returned to normal. He put his palms together and said, "Amitabha, so that's how it is. Chen's talent is really extraordinary, but it's a pity that he's not fated with the Buddha." "It's not fated," the Buddha said again. "Since it's not fated, we can only send Chen away and let him search for the item of fate." As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful force appeared and enveloped Chen. Then it swept up Chen's body and left. Chen only felt a strong gust of wind blowing away the golden light in front of him, and all the techniques and divine arts disappeared. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in a desert. The monk was gone, the Buddha statue was gone, and so was the old monk. He had returned to the western desert. Shameless old man. Chen thought for a moment and understood what had happened. His face immediately became angry. No wonder the sect was destroyed. They are too evil. They wanted to convert me and let me comprehend as I wished. When they found out that I could comprehend without being converted, they chased me out. The shamelessness of those two guys made Zichen very angry. However, the most important thing right now was not to curse pointlessly, but to find a way back. The situation in the desert was almost the same. Zichen spent a lot of time identifying the direction. Finally, after spending about a day and a night, he found a large spiritual city. When he walked into the city, he saw many cultivators. There were many of them. Clearly, the majority of the troops had yet to leave. After Zichen entered the city, he went to find the perfect body. Wherever he passed, he naturally couldn't avoid encountering people from the various large factions. Zichen's portrait had spread throughout the eastern region, so everyone from the large factions knew him. When they saw him, their expressions immediately changed, and their gazes became extremely unfriendly. Among them, the number of Heaven Realm warriors was incalculable. Zichen even saw a few spirit bodies. However, although their gazes were unfriendly, they didn't deliberately step forward to cause trouble. "Why are you only here now? I've been looking for you for a long time," the perfect body said as soon as they met. "Are you leaving?" Zichen asked. "Just for a few days. You are also a member of the ancient race. Follow me." The perfect body pulled Zichen away without any explanation. After that, Zichen saw many ancient race members and the body cultivator lineage. Everyone naturally knew Zichen. When they saw his true appearance today, all of them had looks of admiration on their faces. These ancient race members were very easy to get along with. Zichen didn't feel unfamiliar with them. "Zichen." Suddenly a voice sounded. Zichen turned around and saw a middle-aged man waving at him. When he saw the other party's face, Zichen was immediately stunned. "Barbarian god." The middle-aged man walked towards Zichen. When he heard this, he immediately looked embarrassed. He shushed Zichen and said, "Don't call me Barbarian God. Call me Gulade." Gulade was the one who had given Zichen the fruit of power in the barbarian world. However, he had asked Zichen to call him Barbarian God, saying that he was already used to this title. Zichen smiled and asked, "Why are you here?" "Naturally, to attack Lightning God Temple," Gulade said. "You want to become a god too?" Gulade pursed his lips. "What god? That's not something we should be thinking about. I'm afraid only Heavenly Yuan cultivators have the right to think about it. We're just going to fight some small soldiers." "Small soldiers?" Zichen's face was filled with doubt. "You don't know this, but after Lightning God Temple appears, there will be many lightning soldiers. There will be many of them, and they will be strong. Naturally, Heavenly Yuan cultivators won't make a move. Therefore, we will have to go. Of course, for the final battle to become a god, we won't have to make a move." Gulade said. Zichen had already guessed that Heavenly Yuan cultivators would appear. Therefore, he wasn't surprised. However, he was filled with anticipation for the battle to become a god. By then, Heavenly Yuan cultivators should be able to turn the world upside down. The troops were still gathering as experts from various factions arrived one after another. This time around, the weakest among them were mortal Yuan cultivators. Even Earth Yuan cultivators appeared frequently. However, Zichen hadn't seen a single Heavenly Yuan cultivator. Back then, in the Bedlam lands, there were only 10 mortal Yuan cultivators. Back then, Zichen felt that there were too few mortal Yuan cultivators in this world. However, after entering the ancient road, the number of experts he met increased. As his knowledge increased, he knew that there were many mortal Yuan cultivators in this world. However, Zichen had never thought that mortal Yuan cultivators could actually form an army. That's right, it was indeed an army of over 10,000. Furthermore, it was only a single faction, not the total number of factions. The Great Spirit City couldn't hold so many experts. Therefore, many factions gathered in the desert outside the city. Other than mortal Yuan cultivators, there were also many Dan Yuan cultivators. However, they were probably here to join in the fun. Zichen could easily slaughter mortal Yuan cultivators. He thought that his strength was pretty good. However, After seeing the endless mortal Yuan army, he finally felt how small he was. Mortal Yuan cultivators were still mortal Yuan cultivators. Even if they were extraordinary, they wouldn't attract too much attention. Because at this moment, Earth Yuan cultivators were the main characters. In front of every mortal Yuan army, there were Earth Yuan cultivators. Although there were only 3 to 5 of them in front of every army, it was still enough to make people look up to them. This time, the 5 elements forces were determined to take down the lightning divine palace. Therefore, they gathered many experts and allowed the other factions to come. In the entire Sky Martial continent, almost all the factions that could be seen had come. Among them, the 5 elements forces, Sword Sect, Sha Clan, Tyrannical Dao, Wu Family, Demon Clan of the Wasteland, and so on had all come. The Demon Clan sent out more human origin stage cultivators, forming a huge phalanx of soldiers. The army gathered for 3 days. 3 days later, they set off under the lead of the Earth Yuan cultivators. The army advanced. The army was vast and mighty. However, no one thought that they could take down the Lightning Divine Palace with just this motley crew. The faction's final reliance was still those Heaven Yuan and Earth Yuan cultivators who were hiding in the dark or had gone ahead first. The direction they were heading towards was the center of the desert. 1 day later, the army met with the Buddha sect. This time, the Buddha sect had also sent out close to 1,000 experts. Among hundreds of thousands of mortal Yuan cultivators, it was naturally very difficult to find a single person. Therefore, Chen was not discovered by the group of monks. Another 2 days later, the army arrived. It was still the desert. The scene was the same as 2 days ago. The only difference was that there were dozens of figures standing in the sky. They were all Earth Yuan cultivators. Under the signal of the leader, the army stopped and split up. Each faction occupied an area. Besides Chen, the perfect body pointed at the place where the Earth Yuan cultivators were and said, "The exact location of the Lightning Divine Palace is there." Chen had a strange expression and asked, "When the Lightning Divine Palace appears, it will be accompanied by the power of the laws. They are so close to it. Aren't they worried about danger? Also, it's not safe for us to be here, right?" The perfect body laughed when he heard that after the Lightning Divine Palace completely appears, the power of the laws will not have too much killing power. What we need to worry about are those lightning soldiers, not the laws. The laws will no longer kill. Half a day later, an energy fluctuation suddenly came from the sky. The void began to distort, and the expressions of the Earth Yuan cultivators in the sky changed. Then they retreated in all directions. Just as they retreated, the void broke open. Following that, the power of the laws began to wreak havoc. It was just like the scene when Chen saw the Lightning Divine Palace for the first time. The power of the laws filled every corner of the sky. Fortunately, everyone had retreated far enough, so they were not affected by the power of the laws. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at the sky. They had never seen the Lightning Divine Palace before. Today was the first time. If they returned alive, this would be something they could boast about in the future. Therefore, they had to see the details clearly. As the laws surged, the huge Lightning Divine Palace descended. The only thing everyone could see was the shape of the palace. Other than that, all they could see was lightning. Endless lightning. Endless rumbling sounds came from the lightning outside the Lightning Divine Palace. A vast pressure appeared, just like the scene when Chen saw the Lightning Divine Palace for the first time. The divine might shocked everyone. Regardless of whether they originally believed that there were gods in this world and that they could become gods by entering the Lightning Divine Palace, they believed it now that the Lightning Divine Palace had appeared. The Lightning Divine Palace descended from the sky and finally landed on the desert with a loud bang. Following that, the entire desert began to tremble and rumble. After the series of reactions ended, an endless amount of silver light suddenly shot out from the Lightning Divine Temple. This silver light was a chain. It was like a lightning chain that pierced through the heavens and earth. With the Lightning Divine Temple as the center, It shot out in all directions. Not good. Retreat quickly. Chapter 10:29. The silver chains shot out in all directions, and the power of lightning wreaked havoc. A violent aura emerged. This was the power of lightning that could make an Earth Yuan expert pale. It was extremely terrifying. Amidst the shouts, the mortal Yuan army began to retreat. The originally orderly troops instantly panicked. However, how could a person's speed be faster than lightning? Before they could run out, the silver chains descended. The silver chains drowned the mortal Yuan army, and crackling sounds could be heard. One after another, the human Yuan experts lit up with silver light, and the power of lightning wreaked havoc. Mournful screams could be heard, and rays of light shot up into the sky. A tragedy was happening. Lightning surged around Zi Chen's body, and a huge lightning barrier appeared, covering an area of 100 meters. Within the 100 meters, there were hundreds of ancient race cultivators being protected. Retreat! With a loud shout, Zi Chen brought the barrier and retreated in the air with a group of ancient race cultivators. During this period of time, bolts of lightning struck the light barrier one after another, causing ripples to appear one after another. Just as they reached the outside of the chains, the barrier let out a bang and shattered. A powerful force appeared, causing everyone to retreat. At this moment, the faces of these ancient race cultivators were filled with fear. They looked at Zi Chen with gratitude. Amidst the chains, the screams continued. One figure after another had their defenses broken by the lightning, and their bodies exploded, turning into nothingness. Why is this happening? Looking at the chains in front of him, the perfect body's face turned ugly. In just a few breaths, countless people have died. This lightning divine hall is indeed terrifying. Beside him, Gulade also sighed. The lightning chains were terrifying. It was easy to kill a human Yuan expert, but there were too many of them, and it was impossible to kill all of them. After the lightning chains disappeared, the mortal Yuan army still had more than 100,000 people. They had only lost 1/10 of their forces. However, such a huge loss before the battle even began made the large factions feel heartache. Just as the lightning chains disappeared, a large amount of silver light rushed out from the lightning divine hall. This scene caused everyone's expression to change, and they retreated once again. However, this time, the silver light didn't turn into chains. Instead, it turned into lightning shadows, as if they were living beings of lightning. They covered the surroundings of the lightning divine palace, and each of them held a lightning blade in their hands, while endless lightning surged around their bodies. Seeing these lightning creatures, the perfect body said, "These are the lightning soldiers. What we need to do is to kill them." There were a lot of thunder warriors, nearly 10,000 of them. However, compared to the huge human Yuan army, they were far too few. Furthermore, there were only so many of them, so it shouldn't be that difficult. However, why was it that when the lightning divine hall appeared, the various powers were still unable to open it? Just as Zi Chen was feeling puzzled, the surrounding army began to move, charging towards the lightning creatures outside of the lightning divine palace. Kill! For a moment, shouts of war shook the heavens. The human army came into contact with the lightning creatures, and an intense confrontation took place. Pooh! A bolt of lightning flashed past, and a human expert was cut in half at the waist. Before his soul could escape, he was enveloped by lightning and exploded with a boom. The same scene played out in other places. The lightning creatures were extremely powerful and had the ability to kill a murderous origin realm cultivator instantly. In the intense confrontation, the human army suffered heavy casualties. However, among the human army, there were also experts. For example, the perfect body and the spirit body, who were known as invincible existences, were able to achieve complete victory against the lightning creatures. The human Yuan realm cultivators were fighting in a chaotic battle, while the Earth Yuan realm cultivators were watching from the outside. The Heaven Yuan realm cultivators didn't even appear. It was as if the battle in front of them was a training battle for the human Yuan realm cultivators. From this, they could see the powerful existences within the human Yuan realm. Zichen also followed the army and charged forward, facing a lightning creature. He didn't use the power of incantation, and only used his fist to clash with the lightning creature. Both of their attacks contained the power of lightning. Upon contact, an explosion was produced, and the weapon in the lightning creature's hand instantly shattered. At the same time, Zichen took a step forward and punched the other party's chest. Pow! Another explosion was heard, and the lightning creature's body exploded. However, it was different from the others. After the lightning creature exploded, the lightning mark between Zichen's eyebrows suddenly lit up. It was as if a strange power had appeared, enveloping the lightning creature in front of him. Then, a surge of lightning power entered Zichen's body. Under this surge of lightning power, Zichen's energy was completely recovered. At the same time, he felt that his body was filled with energy. Moreover, his cultivation level, which had been stagnant for a long time, seemed to have increased a little at this moment. Lightning creatures could also help people increase their strength. This discovery made Zichen surprised and happy. However, as he looked around, he realized that the others didn't have such a surprised expression on their faces. It was as if they didn't notice this. In order to verify his guess, Zichen went forward again and blew up another creature. The next moment, the feeling of increasing strength appeared again. During this period of time, he carefully observed the difference between the creatures he killed and the ones killed by others. He realized that the only difference was the lightning mark between their eyebrows. With this mark, Zichen could absorb the lightning power before the creature disappeared, but others couldn't. Could it be that this is something unique to the Lightning Clan? Zichen's face was immediately filled with joy. If that was really the case, then the extremely dangerous Lightning Divine Palace to others would be a training ground for him to increase his strength. As long as he killed enough lightning creatures, he might be able to increase his cultivation level by a level. One must know that after stepping into the mortal origin realm, the time spent on cultivation was much more than the time spent on the Dan origin realm. Currently, all of the mortal origin realm experts had lived for hundreds and thousands of years. There were even some who had lived for tens of thousands of years. Zichen was able to reach his current cultivation level in a short few hundred years. His battle strength was unparalleled. This speed of increase in strength could be said to be godly. Of course, this speed was when compared to humans. Lightning spirits, who were born at the Earth origin realm, did not count. The opportunity to break through was right in front of him, so Zichen naturally had to seize it. Moreover, there were only 10,000 lightning creatures here. Once they were blown up and disappeared, Zichen would have no place to cry even if he wanted to. "Open for me!" Zichen shouted loudly. The seals in his hands fell rapidly. A loud rumbling sound came from the sky, followed by a 4 directions lightning seal. The lightning seal covered an area of dozens of meters. Under the terrifying pressure, not only were several creatures enveloped, some human cultivators were also affected. These were all people from the 5 Elements faction. When they fought, it was easy to distinguish the opponent's energy. Seeing the terrifying lightning seal above their heads, they screamed and quickly retreated. Boom! The lightning seal exploded behind them, killing several creatures. Zichen immediately rushed to the center of the explosion to absorb the lightning power. Therefore, Zichen's figure could be seen in the entire battlefield. He was working extremely hard to kill creatures. Wherever he went, people would retreat. Although many people didn't like Zichen's behavior of being in the limelight, it was also very good to be able to kill more living beings. Among the ancient race, an Earth origin realm expert could not help but nod his head after seeing this scene. His eyes were filled with admiration. He praised, "Not bad. You're working so hard to kill. It's not an exaggeration to call you a model worker." The other ancient race members knew the reason why Zichen was working so hard. They could not help but twitch their lips. Then they nodded and said, Zichen is indeed a good child. He's responsible and can even let bygones be bygones. He's a talent. There were many spiritual bodies here, and many people who were comparable to spiritual bodies. The ancient race's praise of Zichen made the other factions somewhat unhappy. One of them snorted and said, He's only killing and doesn't cooperate with others. At most, he's an individualist. Such an existence's achievements are limited. That's right. He's just trying to be a hero and be in the limelight. It's too pretentious. Hearing such comments, the ancient race members could only laugh. What a strong sour smell. On the battlefield, Zichen was the one who was in the limelight. Suppressing the spiritual bodies, he was undoubtedly the most eye-catching person. Everywhere he passed, creatures would be killed. Very quickly, nearly 10,000 creatures were all killed. Regarding this, Zichen felt that it was a pity. He did not expect to become a god. At this moment, he was hoping for more creatures so that he could accumulate enough strength to raise his realm. However, to be honest, Zichen was extremely disappointed that they were all killed so quickly. As though the prayers in his heart were heard by a certain god, the lightning divine hall in front of him suddenly trembled. Then, a large area of densely packed silver light sprinkled down between the heavens and the earth. This silver light was much denser than before. At the same time, it was denser and more viscous. Under Zichen's widened eyes and a surprised expression, the silver light turned into creatures. This time, the number of creatures was more than twice as much as before. Good. Seeing so many creatures, Zichen could not help but exclaim in his heart. However, he did not dare to make a sound because there were no fools here. He was already in the limelight by killing so many creatures. If he were to exclaim loudly at this moment, he might attract even more attention and suspicion. Thus, Zichen suppressed the excitement in his heart. While cursing and sighing in the surroundings, he charged towards the lightning creatures and began his journey of killing monsters to level up. However, as the lightning energy obtained from killing a living creature was too little, Zichen needed an endless amount of creatures for him to kill if he wanted to break through as soon as possible. At this moment, Zichen did not know that every living creature had a strand of lightning energy in their body. However, as long as the lightning energy did not dissipate, the living creature would not die. Even if the living creature was killed, as long as the lightning energy returned to the lightning divine hall, it would quickly form a new lightning creature. This was a cycle that did not consume anything. The only thing that consumed anything was the human experts. This was also one of the reasons why the lightning divine hall had not been broken through for so many years. However, Zichen's appearance had broken this cycle that did not consume anything. All the living creatures that he had killed had no possibility of reviving. In other words, the number of living creatures in the lightning divine hall would only decrease as he killed them. There were not many people who knew about this situation. Furthermore, in these tens of thousands of years, the lightning clan had disappeared without a trace and had never participated in this battle. Therefore, they did not know about this situation. As for whether the ancient clan knew about this, no one could guess. Under Zichen's crazy massacre, the other spirits seemed to have been stimulated as their attacks became much sharper. Chapter 1030. There was a powerful thunder and lightning spirit in the thunder and lightning, which was rushing toward Zichen. However, it seemed that the thunder and lightning spirit had underestimated Zichen's real power. It wasn't at the Earth origin stage. In other words, it was still at the human Yuan realm. See, this is the consequence of showing off. Seeing the spirit charging at Zichen, an Earth Yuan realm cultivator sneered. An ancient said, "So what? Zichen can take care of it all the same." While they were talking, the lightning spirit had already arrived in front of Zichen, slashing at Zichen with the lightning blade in its hand. Zichen swung his fist, and the light of lightning flashed. The power of the punch caused both of them to retreat. This attack was actually evenly matched. However, just as Zi-Chun retreated, his figure flashed again and charged towards the lightning creature. He then displayed a perfect close-range attack. Hands, elbows, fists, and fingers were all Zi-Chen's attacks. Every attack contained a powerful force. From afar, Zi-Chen looked like he was sticking close to the lightning spirit. Boom! Under the continuous attacks, the lightning spirit was forcefully blown up by Zi-Chen, and its body exploded. A much stronger lightning energy appeared, entering Zi-Chen's body and being completely absorbed by Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen's fighting ability was obvious to all. Many Earth Origin Stage cultivators' faces changed slightly. Not bad, but there is more than one of them. As if to prove the expert's words, more lightning flashed. This time, the lightning spirit was as powerful as the previous one. There were 5 of them. Moreover, this spirit targeted Zi-Chen as soon as it appeared. It looked like they were ganging up on him. Zi-Chen's face was filled with joy. In this lightning, he had endless power. As long as there was no difference in cultivation level, he could kill as many of the same cultivation level as him. He charged at the 5 spirits excitedly and dodged a few attacks at the same time. He focused on killing one of them. During this time, the heavenly thunderwings had appeared on Zi-Chen's back. His speed had reached its peak. Pum! In the midst of the combo, golden light flickered as one of the creatures exploded with a loud bang. The lightning energy was absorbed by Zi-Chen. Following that, another set of combo attacks was unleashed. After Zi-Chen got the hang of it, he killed even more thoroughly, and the second creature also exploded. Then it was the third, fourth, and fifth. In just a short moment, 5 powerful creatures were killed. Such power shocked the crowd of earthly Yuan stage practitioners. They asked themselves honestly, when they were at Zi-Chen's level, they did not possess such power. On this side, Zi-Chen's killing was extremely easy, but it did not mean that the situation on the entire battlefield was the same. Facing these creatures, the humans were still at a disadvantage. The number of deaths was constantly increasing. Zi-Chen could easily kill them, which only meant that he was powerful, but not the majority of the humans. Up until now, more than 1/10 of the human race had been lost. After killing 5 of the creatures, the crowd guessed that more would appear. However, in the next moment, an extremely powerful aura descended. This was the aura of an earthly Yuan stage practitioner. There was finally a strong practitioner among the creatures. After feeling this aura, the earthly Yuan stage ancient race practitioner's expression changed. Without hesitation, he rushed towards Zi-Chen. Boom! When he got close, a surge of energy descended. The 2 of them fiercely clashed, and in the midst of an earth-shattering explosion, the ancient race practitioner who had just stepped forward was sent flying by the energy. The earthly Yuan stage practitioner who was nearby also retreated. How can this be? According to the ancient records, earthly Yuan stage practitioners would only appear after 5 rounds. Now, they have appeared after only 2 rounds. Outside the circle, the earthly Yuan stage practitioners of the other factions had strange expressions on their faces, but they did not care. One of them sneered. Zi-Chen must have been in the limelight and angered the lightning spirit. That's why the earthly Yuan stage practitioners appeared earlier. That's right, only one appeared. Before he could finish speaking, a strange expression appeared on the faces of the crowd, and their expressions rapidly changed. In front of them, where Zi-Chen was, another earthly Yuan stage practitioner had appeared. This one had appeared together with the previous earthly Yuan stage practitioner. No one had expected that there would be 2 of them at the same time. Only one of the careless ancient race practitioners stepped forward and was forced to retreat. By the time the others reacted, it was already too late. The earthly Yuan stage practitioner held a lightning blade and viciously slashed towards Zi-Chen. In this slash, Zi-Chen felt as if the space around him had solidified. There was no way for him to dodge or retreat. All he could do was to take this attack head-on. The result was either death or serious injuries. However, it was likely that he would die. Behind him, the earthly Yuan stage practitioners of the ancient race shouted. However, no matter how anxious and hysterical they could not stop the attack from landing on Zichen's body. Before the lightning blade landed, Zichen's defense had already been shattered. The power of an earthly Yuan stage practitioner was simply unimaginable. At this critical moment, Zichen shouted, "9 extreme formation!" He waved his hands in front of him. His left hand was golden and his right hand was silver. 2 types of perfect Yuan force appeared. Just as the light was emitted, a loud, rumbling sound was heard. Suddenly, several stone tablets appeared around Zichen. The stone tablets stood tall and lined up side by side, blocking the path of the lightning blade in front of him. The group of earthly Yuan stage practitioners behind him started to move. No matter which force they belonged to, they all moved. Their target was Zichen. When they saw Zichen take out the stone tablets, their faces were filled with sarcasm. How could the attack of an earthly Yuan stage practitioner be blocked by a few stone tablets? Even though a few of them had already sensed a familiar aura from the stone tablets, they did not care. In the distance, the other humans were stunned. They had never thought that the group of practitioners would have such a big reaction. After all, there was only one earthly Yuan stage practitioner on the other side. The humans only needed one. Why would they send all of them? They did send all of them. More than 20 earthly Yuan stage practitioners rushed forward. Clang! The lightning blade struck one of the stone tablets. What followed was a burst of dazzling sparks and a crisp clang. The lightning blade slid down the stone tablet at a slanted angle. Along the way, the sparks continued to flicker as the powerful force of the blade struck the stone tablet. However, in everyone's imagination, the scene of the stone tablet being split in half along with Zichen in the next moment did not happen. The stone tablet was sent flying with a loud bang. Along with the other tablets, it crashed into Zichen's body. Zichen spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was sent flying by the stone tablet, but at least he was still alive. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. A dignified, earthly Yuan stage practitioner could not even break a stone tablet. While they were still in disbelief, their gazes fell on the stone tablets. With a glance, they saw the ancient word soared on the stone tablets. Everyone was at earthly Yuan stage. Naturally, they were knowledgeable. Immediately, they recognized what the stone tablets were and immediately shouted, "Sword tablet! This is a sword tablet. Sword sex inheritance, sword tablet." After Zichen was sent flying, the 9 sword steels began to revolve around him. As the sword steels revolved around him, the earthly Yuan level energy was slowly neutralized. Eventually, Zichen was injured, but his life was not in danger. He stood in the air, surrounded by the revolving sword tablets. When the earthly Yuan stage practitioners saw the 9 sword tablets, they all turned their heads and looked at the other earthly Yuan stage practitioners. These were all from the sword sect. Damn it! The sword sect practitioners' expressions became extremely ugly. It was extremely complicated. There was humiliation, anger, murderous intent, and greed. 9 sword steels. After all, the sword sect only had 4 sword steels when it was at its peak. Yet now, Zichen had 9 sword steels. It was equivalent to gathering all the sword steels. If he brought the sword steels to the sword sect, then the following disciples of the sword sect would naturally receive the complete inheritance of the sword. Zichen, why is our sword sect's most precious sword tablet with you? A sword sect earthly Yuan stage practitioner angrily questioned. At this moment, they completely ignored the 2 earthly Yuan stage lightning creatures. Their gazes fell on Zichen. They had all gathered here to wait for Zichen to die so that they could pick up the heavenly book. Who would have thought that this guy would still be alive? Zichen was too lazy to explain. Rays of light began to flash, and the earthly Yuan stage ancient race practitioner appeared beside Ziqin to protect Ziqin. The earthly Yuan stage practitioner who had blocked the attack for Ziqin sneered, "What's wrong? Is this an internal conflict?" The sword sect practitioner's expression changed again and again. The anger in his heart naturally reached its limit. However, he forcefully suppressed it in the end. He knew that this was not the time to fall out. He snorted and turned to leave. Beside him, the other sword sect practitioners also left. Since there was no show to watch and no battle to fight, the others also dispersed. As for the two earthly Yuan stage creatures, they would be dealt with by the ancient race. What happened here naturally attracted the attention of the human army in the distance, especially the disciples of the sword sect. When they saw the 9 sword tablets around Ziqin, their emotions became extremely complicated. "Ziqin, you can rest for a while," the ancient race practitioner beside Ziqin said. Ziqin shook his head and said no need. "My injuries are not serious. I will recover soon. As for the earthly Yuan stage, as long as I am careful, I can still survive." As he spoke, he rushed forward again. The ancient looked at Ziqin's back and sighed. "He's fine after being struck by an earth primordial realm expert. He's alive and kicking so quickly, as expected of a perfect body. This recovery speed is truly impressive." The battle broke out again, but this time Ziqin's attacks were even more ferocious. This was because he was completely controlling the 9 extremes array to attack. As the sword tablet whistled down, a creature would be smashed to pieces and the trace of lightning power would be absorbed. Ziqin's ferocious fighting style also made the other humans extremely fearful, especially those who had a grudge against Ziqin. They were afraid that the Ziqin sword steel would be smashed towards them if they did not control it well. Therefore, they stayed far away from Ziqin, leaving him a large battlefield. The ferocious Ziqin did not disappoint. Large swathes of living beings were killed by him. Just as the second wave of creatures was almost wiped out, the battle finally escalated. Among the third wave of creatures, there were many earthly Yuan stage creatures. Kill. Chapter 1031. With the appearance of the Earth origin stage beings, the battle was immediately divided into 2 parts. Densely packed creatures appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Among them, the number of Earth origin stage martial artists was in the double digits. They materialized from the lightning and charged towards the humans with thunder blades in their hands. Some of them charged towards Ziqin. "Spread out." With the shout of the Earth origin stage beings, the human origin stage army retreated, leaving the main battlefield to the Earth origin stage beings. The Earth origin stage beings charged forward, and what followed was an earth-shattering battle. When a living being died, it would disappear, leaving nothing behind. However, when a human died, there would be corpses. At this moment, there were more than 10,000 corpses on the ground. Charge at the Thunder God Palace. As soon as the battle started, the Earth origin stage beings all charged towards the Thunder God Palace. Wherever it went, Earth origin stage creatures would be killed by its great power. Seeing this scene, Ziqin's heart ached. Living beings of this level contained an enormous amount of lightning energy. After Ziqin absorbed it, his strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Perhaps the lightning energy of an Earth origin stage being could help him increase his cultivation by a small amount. Unfortunately, the lightning energy dissipated quickly, and Ziqin couldn't catch it. He could only follow behind the ancient race's Earth origin stage cultivators and kill some mortal origin stage cultivators. With the help of the sword steel, Ziqin wasn't afraid of being attacked by Earth origin stage cultivators. At the same time, his counterattacks were effective and sharp. Ziqin was controlling the sword sect's treasure. Everyone knew this, but the human origin stage beings didn't dare to approach Ziqin casually, fearing that they would be killed by Ziqin. The Earth origin stage beings were attacking the beings. Although they wanted to go easy, With the help of the sword steel, they couldn't kill Zichen in one hit. When they attacked again, Zichen had already dodged with his extreme speed or retreated from the battle. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the entire battlefield. Almost at the same time, everyone's eyes fell on that sound. They saw the body of an Earth Origin Stage warrior explode, turning into countless lightning sparks and dissipating. An Earth Origin Stage human died. It was an extremely cruel and dangerous battle. Even a warrior of the Earth Origin Stage could die. It was like a chain reaction. As the first Earth Origin Stage cultivator died, 2 more explosions sounded. 2 more Earth Origin Stage cultivators died. When the Earth Origin Stage warriors died, the battle reached its climax. More Earth Origin Stage warriors showed up secretly and joined the battle. This time, they were truly beginning to attack the Lightning Divine Palace. Large amounts of lightning radiance scattered down, and even more creatures appeared. Another crazy slaughter erupted. The group of Earth Origin Stage cultivators kept moving forward with Zichen at the back. He was the only human Origin Stage cultivator who dared to enter. Very quickly, the group of people arrived at the entrance of the Lightning Divine Hall. However, they were unable to take another step forward. This was because the entire door was surrounded by a layer of lightning chains. These chains were extremely powerful. An earthly origin realm cultivator was caught off guard and got close to the chains. He was struck by the lightning and exploded. The Earth Origin realm was already in existence that was second only to the peak experts of the heavenly origin realm in this world. However, even so, people like that were still dying one after another. The frightening degree of the Lightning Divine Hall had truly surpassed everyone's imaginations. Out of the 100,000-strong Yuan army, nearly half of them had died. These are lightning chains. They are extremely powerful and require great strength to break them apart. Looking ahead, an Earth Origin Stage cultivator spoke. Heavenly Origin Stage cultivators are unable to take action at this moment. We have to break them apart. Another ancient repeated. Following that, the group of Earth Origin Stage cultivators started to attack the chains in front of them. In the process of attacking, even more creatures appeared, wanting to kill them. Break! At this moment, no one held back. Everyone used their full strength. In the midst of their attacks, the chains continuously trembled and started to distort. Boom! Finally, with a loud explosion, the chains were completely shattered. After the chains were broken, the Lightning Divine Hall appeared in their line of sight. In front of them was a towering door that flashed with lightning and emitted a boundless might. Under the door, rows of stairs extended downwards. The entire stairs were also flashing with lightning. On both sides of the stairs, there were 2 rows of guards holding long spears. They were like statues, not moving at all, as if they were petrified. However, following the disappearance of the lightning chains, the bodies of these petrified guards suddenly flashed with lightning. Furthermore, the lightning was getting stronger and stronger. This was a sign that they were about to awaken. Wave after wave of powerful auras were emitted from the guards. They were all Earth Origin Stage auras. These are the guards outside. Once we kill them, we will be able to go up. Another ancient spoke. Kill! Amidst the battle cries, a group of Earth Origin Stage cultivators charged forward. Zichen followed behind them, controlling the sword steel to launch a sneak attack. Going up the stairs, there were several hundred layers. The number of guards exceeded 100. This meant that there were more than 100 Earth Origin Stage cultivators. Just the entrance alone had more than 100 Earth Origin Stage cultivators. From this, one could imagine how terrifying the Lightning Divine Hall was. It was impossible for a single power to take it down. This was because in the Sky Martial Continent, there was no power that could take out more than 100 Earth Origin Stage cultivators. Zichen had been following behind the ancient race cultivators. If he could attack, he would attack. If he couldn't, he would dodge. As the guards fell one by one, he would charge forward. After killing more than 100 guards, the human side had also paid a heavy price. The battle lasted for 2 days before they finally killed all the guards. On the ground, there were many corpses. The remaining Earth origin stage cultivators finally reached the top of the stairs, arriving in front of the lightning divine hall. At this moment, the excitement in everyone's hearts was indescribable. This was because they were only one step away from becoming a true god. As long as they opened the door, the secret to becoming a true god would be within. How do we open the door? Everyone's gazes landed on the ancient race cultivators. One of the ancient race cultivators glanced at Zi Chen and frowned. Just as everyone was wondering if the key to opening the door was on Zi Chen, they heard him say, "Zi Chen, this place is very dangerous. You shouldn't have come here." Zi Chen glanced at the ancient race cultivator and said, "I'm just here to take a look. If anything bad happens, I'll go back." Seeing Zi Chen's insistence, the ancient race cultivator nodded and didn't say anything else. Then he drew a circle with one hand. This circle was like a teleportation channel, slowly expanding to a few meters. The ancient race cultivator took a few steps back and said, "Next, it's the heaven origin stage cultivator's turn." Heaven origin stage cultivators were the strongest cultivators in the Sky Martial continent. Naturally, there were very few of them. Hearing this, everyone's faces were filled with anticipation. With a flash of light, a figure walked out of the circle. This was a heaven origin stage cultivator, a member of the ancient race. This person didn't emit a powerful aura, but just standing there made the Earth origin stage cultivators feel extremely uncomfortable and oppressed. Looking at the door in front of him, the ancient race cultivator's eyes flashed. He muttered, "We're finally here. After so many years, other than the everlasting sect, we're probably the second to have successfully reached this place." Back then, the everlasting sect had indeed succeeded in reaching this place. It was said that they had even opened this door. However, due to the problem with their method, they chose to force their way in and suffered great losses. It was said that by the time they reached this place, they had already lost 2 heaven origin stage cultivators and countless Earth origin stage cultivators. However, after the ancient race had grasped the correct method, they had only lost over 100 Earth origin stage cultivators. This loss was unbearable for a single power, but if it was spread out among many powers, this loss was still acceptable. The ancient race's method is indeed effective. It's so much better than the everlasting sect's method. A hearty laugh rang out as another person walked out of the circle. Soon, more than a dozen heavenly Yuan stage cultivators had gathered at the entrance. The Earth origin stage cultivators and Zi Chen kept retreating. However, at this moment, Zi Chen was still a little confused. This was because the ancient race cultivator's conversation with him just now seemed a little strange. Furthermore, the way the ancient race cultivator looked at him was full of hidden secrets. "You'll be at the back. If there's any danger, be the first to retreat. No one knows what dangers lie within. Furthermore, you have to be careful not only of the dangers inside, but also of those Earth origin stage cultivators." A voice rang out in Zi Chen's mind. It was the ancient race cultivator from before. However, Zi Chen did not know his name. Zi Chen looked at him gratefully but did not reply. Outside the stairs, the intense battle was still ongoing. The Earth origin stage cultivators on the stairs all looked up at the Sky origin stage cultivators who were preparing to break the door. This time, the various powers had joined hands. It could be said that they were fully prepared. This time, we have to give it our all in breaking the door. The heaven origin stage cultivator spoke. His tone was calm, but it was filled with a majestic aura. Waves of energy surged out. The heaven origin stage cultivators had already begun to mobilize the energy of heaven and earth. An oppressive aura was emitted from their bodies. All the Earth origin stage cultivators felt that they were unable to withstand it and retreated once again. Various lights flashed as terrifying attacks landed on the door. After 10,000 years, the door of the Lightning Divine Hall was once again attacked. Boom! The energy landed, causing the door to tremble. Even the entire Lightning Divine Hall began to shake. Boom! Boom! The tremors continued as the surrounding ground began to tremble as well. At this moment, the tremors had even spread throughout the entire Western region. The group of Heaven Origin Stage cultivators attacked the door of the Lightning Divine Hall with all their might. The Earth Origin Stage cultivators and Zi-Chin, on the other hand, stared ahead curiously. They were curious as to what would appear in front of them after the door was opened. Boom! After more than 10 attacks, the door exploded with a loud bang. The ancient door turned into endless lightning energy and dissipated. The Lightning Divine Hall appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Just as the door was completely blown open, the living beings in the outside world disappeared in an instant. At the same time, the lightning on the Lightning Divine Hall disappeared as well. What appeared in front of everyone was a castle. On the surface of the castle, there were still traces of lightning energy flickering. At this moment, the door of the castle opened, allowing everyone to see what was inside. The first thing he saw were the rows of guards. They were emitting a murderous aura. This is the true test. Let's go. The following battles were obviously handed over to the Heaven Origin Stage cultivators. Only they had the qualifications to become true gods and the qualifications to enter. The group of Heaven Origin Stage cultivators walked in one after another. After that, a battle broke out. The Earth Origin Stage cultivators did not dare to recklessly step forward. That was because the energy shockwaves from the battle between the Heaven Origin Stage cultivators were extremely frightening. Chapter 1032. Within the Lightning Divine Palace, the energy generated from the intense battle was extremely terrifying. Even earthly Yuan realm experts would not dare to enter rashly, but Zi-Chen dared to. Lightning flashed around his body as he charged forward in a straight line. From the looks of it, he was about to pass through the battlefield. Such a daring action was something none of the earthly Yuan realm experts dared to do, as they were afraid of being killed by the shockwaves. The faces of the earthly Yuan realm experts all changed, as they did not understand what Zi-Chin was doing. The ancient race people even shouted, indicating for Zi-Chin to stop. Is this little guy trying to become a god? He's really courting death. Becoming a god is impossible, but courting death is possible. The other earthly Yuan realm experts sneered as they looked at Zi-Chan with ridicule, but did not stop him. At this moment, everyone could only see Zi-Chen's back and not his face. If they could, they would see that Zi-Chen's face was pale and filled with extreme fear. He had already lost his composure as he shouted with his spiritual sense, "Stop, idiot! Stop, stop, idiot!" As he shouted, the energy in his body was pushed to the limit. His feet were firmly planted on the ground as he tried to stabilize his body. At the same time, the 9 sword steels were placed in front of him, preventing him from moving forward. Zi-Chen's body followed the sword steels for dozens of meters before he finally stopped. His face was already covered in cold sweat, and there was still lingering fear in his heart, as well as the joy of surviving a calamity. "Damn thing, you almost got me killed," Zi-Chin cursed in his heart. At this moment, half of the lightning that was emitting from his body did not come from his body, but from the spirit ring. Within the spirit ring, the half-dragon head that he had obtained from the lightning region was emitting a bright silver light. At the same time, it was rampaging through the spirit ring, destroying most of the things in the spirit ring. Just now, it was this energy that had enveloped Zi-Chin, wanting to bring him in. The change in the dragon head also happened after the door was destroyed, as if it had sensed something. The energy in front of him rumbled. The heavenly Yuan realm experts were still fighting, so Zi-Chin naturally did not dare to go forward. After he suppressed the dragon head, he retreated step by step. During this time, the dragon had sent out a very clear message, which was to go forward, to go deeper. The 2 rows of guards in the Lightning Divine Hall were not as strong as he had imagined. Just as Zichen had retreated back to the main entrance of the Lightning Divine Hall, the Heavenly Yuan stage experts had already opened up a path leading to the depths of the Lightning Divine Hall. As the light flashed, some Sky Origin stage cultivators had already rushed in. At this moment, Zichen was not far from the Sky Origin territory. When he saw the opening of the passage, his face immediately changed. After hesitating for about a third of a breath, he used the 9 sword steels to completely protect himself, sticking close to himself. Then he spread out his thunder wings and turned into a beam of light, rushing toward the tunnel ahead. All kinds of energy collided as the thunder blade slashed onto the sword steel, causing it to explode with dazzling sparks. Zichen instantly passed through the passageway and spat out blood. Clearly, the series of collisions just now had already injured him, but it was a miracle that he was still alive. Zichen did not hesitate and rushed forward. At this moment, he was following the guidance of the dragon head. Behind him, the explosions continued, followed by miserable cries and sounds of air being torn apart. Some earthly Yuan stage cultivators had also rushed in, disregarding their own lives. The Lightning Divine Hall was extremely mysterious and contained the secrets to becoming a god. As long as there was a chance, no one would be willing to miss it. The earthly Yuan stage cultivators followed behind, but those guards did not turn around to chase after them. It was as if they were only guarding the entrance, and would give up if anyone managed to pass through. We're in. I've entered the Lightning Divine Hall. Excited voices continuously sounded from behind, and they were emitted by the earthly Yuan stage cultivators. Within the Lightning Divine Hall, the lightning continued to shine, and the terrifying pressure was even stronger. The group of people followed the stairs and advanced, and wherever they passed, they would discover 1 or 2 buildings. The Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators abandoned these buildings and rushed towards the depths. However, the earthly Yuan stage cultivators did not. They flashed into the buildings, wanting to search for resources. Suddenly, a bang sound rang out, and the earthly Yuan stage cultivators who had just entered the buildings were once again sent flying out. While they were flying, their bodies exploded with a bang. In an instant, 7 to 8 earthly Yuan stage cultivators died, and they did not even have the chance to scream before they died. The other earthly Yuan stage cultivators realized that something was wrong, and they all stopped and looked towards the buildings that were opened. However, they could not see anything. Lightning flashed inside, and the open doors were closed with a bang. Cold sweat dripped down the heads of the earthly Yuan stage cultivators, and they did not dare to rashly enter. After a slight hesitation, they gave up on the buildings and rushed towards the depths. The group of Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators passed through the stairs and entered the depths. However, they quickly arrived in front of the second door. On both sides of the door there were still a few guards, and they were very strong. This time the guards were not easy to deal with, and the Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators had to spend a lot of effort to get rid of them. Zichen hid in the distance, carefully peeking his head out to observe. The dragon head still had to lead them deeper, and Zichen urgently hoped that the Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators would hurry up and open the door. After getting rid of the guards, the Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators were about to step forward and open the door. However, at this moment, a glaring lightning suddenly exploded from the door. The lightning was filled with a powerful aura, and the Heavenly Yuan stage cultivators who had just stepped forward quickly retreated under this powerful aura. At the entrance, a person had appeared out of nowhere. It was a tall figure, and he was wearing a thunder battle armor. There was also a helmet on his head, and only 2 cold and emotionless eyes could be seen. Back then, when the everlasting sect mobilized all of its forces to open the Lightning Divine Hall, there were still many cultivators guarding outside. Therefore, no one knew what happened inside the Lightning Divine Hall. At this moment, when they saw the cultivator wearing the thunder battle armor, the heavenly yuan stage cultivators' faces changed. This was because the aura emitted from the other party's body was clearly much stronger than theirs. Furthermore, this aura was no longer the aura of a living creature without intelligence. "You are a human," one of the heavenly yuan stage cultivators coldly asked, while the other heavenly yuan stage cultivators were on guard. This cultivator did not speak, and instead he struck out a palm towards the group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators. When this palm was struck out, it was only a very small palm print. However, as it moved forward, the palm print instantly grew bigger, and the aura that emerged from it became even more terrifying. The group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators shouted, and one after another, they gathered all of their strength and struck out towards the palm print. Boom! The terrifying power clashed with the palm print in the air. However, the destructive power that was released could only vibrate within a radius of a dozen meters, and was unable to spread out. In the end, the group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators gained the upper hand and shattered the palm print. Merely SOO. After shattering this attack, the group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators could not help but have some confidence on their faces. They had never entered this place before, so they were filled with fear towards the unknown lightning divine hall. In their imagination, the existence of the lightning divine hall was extremely powerful. However, after this attack, they had some confidence. Scram, however, who knew that before they could launch their second wave of attacks, a loud shout would be heard. Immediately after, a huge square seal appeared in front of the Thunder Battle Armor cultivator. The aura that was circulating on this huge seal was more than 10 times more terrifying than the previous palm print. The huge seal rumbled as it smashed towards the group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators. Feeling the aura on the huge seal, the group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators' faces changed. Then, they all used their strongest attacks to block it. Just as they blocked the huge seal's pressure, they all coughed out blood. The power of the huge seal was truly terrifying. The opponent is too strong. Let's retreat. Mobilize our maximum fighting strength. The group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators could not help but have thoughts of retreating. In the next instant, they all retracted their hands and flew backwards. As the huge seal descended, the tyrannical aura completely exploded. The group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators coughed out blood once again. Then, borrowing the force of the impact, they fled without looking back. Zi-chan was following behind the group. When he saw this scene, his eyes widened as his face was filled with disbelief. He simply did not dare to believe that the group of factions that had prepared for several tens of thousands of years to attack the Lightning Divine Hall would actually end up in such a situation. One must know that not a single heavenly yuan stage cultivator had died. In fact, Zi-chan guessed that they had not even used their full strength. However, not only did they not continue, they even wanted to flee. Zi-chan opened his mouth, wanting to say something. However, he realized that he was unable to say a single word at this moment. His face was already filled with fear. Actually, his original intention was to reprimand these heavenly yuan stage cultivators. "You guys are so strong, why don't you charge and flee?" However, it was too late. These heavenly yuan stage cultivators had already fled. Originally, Zi-chan was at the back. However, in less than a breath's time, he had already reached the front. The group of heavenly yuan stage cultivators had already swept past him. Of course, they had also seen Zi-chan, who was being protected by the sword steel. There was not much expression on their faces. If one had to say anything, it would be disdain. Zi-chan's heart was filled with despair. He forcefully suppressed his raging dragon head, turned around and fled as well. What kind of joke was this? Even the heavenly yuan stage cultivators had fled. If he did not flee, would he be waiting for death? However, just as Zi-chan turned around, he saw a force rushing towards him. It was a heavenly yuan stage cultivator that Zi-chan did not recognize. He pointed a finger behind him. He did not know whether the finger was intentional or not, but it was aimed at Zichen. The finger's power, which was not that strong for a heavenly yuan stage cultivator, landed on the sword steel. After that, the finger's power carried the sword steel and Zichen to the back. They were flying towards the direction of the gate. Seeing this, Zichen wanted to curse. He really wanted to point at the heavenly yuan stage cultivator's nose and curse his ancestors, because the finger's power had brought him into a dangerous situation. Zichen had never thought that he would die under a finger's power. Moreover, the finger's power was so careless. Bang! When the power disappeared, Zichen's body landed heavily on the ground. The 9 sword steels were scattered all over the place. The sword formation had already been broken. When Zichen opened his eyes, he saw a pair of boots shining with lightning right in front of him. As he raised his head, Zichen saw the face of the armored cultivator. Chapter 1033. The armored man looked down at Zichen, his eyes cold and indifferent. Zichen's heart trembled. This man had defeated so many Sky Yuan stage cultivators. He could kill Zichen with a single breath. Damn the dragon head. Zichen's heart was filled with hatred, but he didn't dare to show it. The smile on his face grew wider. Greetings, Senior. Zichen slowly stood up with a nervous expression. He braced himself and said, "If you don't have any other orders, I will leave now." Zichen had already forgotten how long it had been since he last spoke in such a humble manner. This man had told the Sky Yuan stage cultivators to get lost. He was also a Sky Yuan stage cultivator, so naturally he was intelligent. Now that Zichen spoke, he pretended to be pitiful, but in fact he wanted the man to let him go. Zichen was only a mortal Yuan stage cultivator, while the man was a Sky Yuan stage cultivator. The difference between them was like the difference between a baby and an adult. When a baby did something wrong, even if the adult was angry, he wouldn't kill the baby. At most, he would scold the baby. Zichen had this thought in mind. Even if he was beaten up badly, as long as he was alive, everything would be fine. In the meantime, Zichen carefully turned around and walked out. Every step he took was very light and slow. The man's cold eyes fell on Zichen. In the end, there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. He suddenly said, "Did I say you could leave?" It was a normal human voice. Although there was no emotion in it, it made Zichen feel relieved. As long as the other side was willing to talk, it meant that there was still room for negotiation. For such a strong cultivator, it didn't matter whether he killed a mere human origin stage cultivator. Zichen turned around, the smile on his face growing wider. He wanted to beg for mercy, but as soon as he turned around, the smile on his face froze. Then his face was filled with shock, fear, and a series of other expressions. In front of him, after the man finished speaking, he threw out a palm strike. The energy contained in the palm strike was not strong, but it was enough to kill a mortal Yuan stage cultivator. "You don't play by the rules," Zichen shouted. But before he could finish his sentence, the palm print had completely engulfed him. The doors of the Lightning Divine Hall opened, and a group of Heaven Origin Realm practitioners retreated out. The Earth Origin Realm practitioners were even more flustered as they retreated. Outside the Lightning Divine Palace, the battle had long stopped. The living beings had all disappeared, and the remaining people were cleaning up the battlefield and cleaning up the corpses. In this battle, they had lost over 70,000 Mortal Origin Realm Martial Artists and over 100 Earth Origin Realm Martial Artists. Although it seemed like they had suffered a lot of casualties, they had successfully fought their way into Lightning Divine Hall. It could be said that they had obtained an extraordinary result. Furthermore, this was the first time that the Lightning Divine Hall had completely appeared before everyone's eyes. When the group of Heavenly Yuan Realm returned, they began to discuss on how to attack the Lightning Divine Palace and how to kill that powerful existence. As for Zichen, they would not pay any attention to him. He was merely at the Mortal Origin Realm and was truly not worth their attention. However, the group of Earth origin realm martial artists suddenly thought of Zichen, and one of them asked, "Zichen entered before us. Why didn't he come out?" The Earth origin realm martial artists from the Five Elements faction sneered, "Isn't that obvious? He died in there. What kind of place is that? Even we have to tread carefully when we enter. A place where even Heavenly Yuan realm martial artists were forced to retreat. How could a mere mortal origin realm martial artist enter?" The others nodded their heads, while the faces of the few Earth origin realm martial artists who were lucky enough to survive turned ugly. Mortal origin realm martial artists could ignore Zichen, but they had no choice but to, because once Zichen broke through to the Earth origin realm, he would be the strongest existence among those of the same level. Of course, although the possibility of that happening was extremely slim, as long as there was a trace of it, they would fight for it. The group of Heavenly Yuan realm martial artists were only probing the waters, which was why they had retreated early. After discussing for about an hour, they decided to attack the Lightning Divine Palace once again. There was no time limit for the appearance of the Lightning Divine Palace. Therefore, they were not in a hurry to attack it in one go. Instead, they wanted to observe it and make other plans after thoroughly understanding the Lightning Divine Palace. When they entered the Lightning Divine Palace once again, they did not immediately rush in to find experts to fight. Instead, they went to other places. The distance between the first door and the second door was about 10 miles. Within this 10-mile area, there were rows and rows of pavilions. The first thing the group of experts had to do was to open those pavilions and see what was inside. Originally, the group of Earth origin realm martial artists were able to open those pavilions. However, when they entered again, they discovered that those pavilions were tightly shut as if they were in another space. They were unable to open them at all. After several attempts to no avail, some of them became furious and turned to attack those pavilions. Rumble. Suddenly, the sound of thunder came from the sky. A terrifying bolt of lightning descended from the sky, landing on that expert's body. This was an Earth origin realm martial artist. He was instantly smashed into pieces by the lightning, and this lightning was like a lightning punishment. At this moment, there were no longer any lightning creatures in their surroundings, nor were there any dangers. The group of people could move around freely, and they could only attack those pavilions. Rumble. Another bolt of lightning came from the sky. This time, it was a Sky Origin realm martial artist who attacked the pavilions. This bolt of lightning was even more terrifying. It carried with it the intent to destroy everything as it landed on the Sky Origin realm martial artist. Another explosion came from the sky. Following that, the Sky Origin realm martial artist's body exploded, and his soul dissipated. Such a scene could be said to have caused the expressions of all the experts to change. Until now, not a single Sky Origin realm martial artist had died. Who would have thought that one of them would be killed by a lightning punishment? Let's go deeper. The group of experts decided to give up on searching the surroundings and continued to move forward, arriving at the second door. The powerful existence was still guarding the door like a door god. His cold eyes swept across the group of people who had just arrived. "Save me! Save me!" At the same time, the group of experts heard cries for help coming from afar. Following their line of sight, they saw a huge lightning ball a few miles away at a corner of a wall. And within the lightning ball, there was a human figure. The cries for help came from there. Hearing the familiar voice, the Earth Origin realm martial artist's expression changed. He exclaimed, "Zichen, it's Zichen." I thought he was dead. I didn't expect him to still be alive." Immediately, an Earth Origin realm martial artist sneered. "Under such circumstances, there's no difference whether he's dead or alive." The other Earth Origin realm martial artists were gloating. As for the Sky Origin realm martial artist, he only glanced at Zichen indifferently. Then he turned his gaze back to the expert in front of him. "This door is not open. Get out of here." The expert in front of the door shouted. However, this time he did not attack. The Sky Origin realm martial artists looked at each other. One of them asked, "Does this place have the secret to becoming a god?" Hearing this, the expert sneered. He said disdainfully, "You think you can become a god? Leave now and you can live. Otherwise you will die." His shout caused an uproar among the crowd. It was obvious what he meant. There was a chance to become a god here, but not the few of them. The Sky Origin Realm martial artist's expression changed. The sneer in his eyes deepened. Then he said, "You," however, before he could finish speaking, a sharp voice sounded from afar, "Save me! Save me! Senior, save me!" It was Zi Chen's voice. He was crying for help. The Sky Origin Realm martial artists ignored him. Becoming a god was the most important thing. The expert in front of the door frowned. He was about to speak again, but Zi Chen's cry for help came again. "Noisy!" the cultivator said coldly as he pointed a finger at Zi Chen. A thunderous sound came from the sky. Then a bolt of lightning fell and hit Zi Chen. Zi Chen couldn't help but scream. Then there was silence. Obviously, it was a sign of death. "You are too weak. Leave now." The expert in front of the door finally had a chance to speak. The Sky Origin Realm martial artists naturally couldn't leave. However, the Earth Origin Realm martial artists all retreated. Obviously, a fierce battle was about to ensue. "What? You don't want to leave? Fine. Kill me, and you can go in. However, this time, none of you can become a god." The expert in front of the door said again. This was an important piece of information, but the Sky Origin Realm martial artists wouldn't believe him. Just as they were discussing whether to attack or not, the previous cry for help came again. "Help! Help!" Hearing Zi Chen's voice, everyone was surprised. A Sky Origin Realm martial artist had been killed by the lightning, but Zi Chen was still alive. The expert in front of the door frowned. His eyes turned colder. After that, 2 more bolts of lightning fell from the sky and struck Zi Chen. Zi Chen let out 2 blood-curdling screams. "Now he's going to die," everyone thought to themselves. However, not long after, the cry for help came again. They did not know if it was an illusion, but everyone felt that every time Zi Chen called for help, there would be a bolt of lightning striking down. In total, there were more than 10 bolts of lightning striking down, but none of them struck Zi Chen to death. This made everyone feel extremely strange. While the Earth Origin Realm martial artists were shocked by Zi Chen's strong vitality, the Sky Origin Realm martial artists launched an all-out attack at the expert in front of them. He seemed to have no time to care about Zi Chen. Originally, he would shoot out a bolt of lightning every time he asked for help. Now it was a timer. Every once in a while, a bolt of lightning would fall and hit Zi Chen. This time, the group of Sky Origin Realm martial artists didn't hold back and used their strongest attacks. With a group of people working together, they actually blocked the expert in front of the door. "You're courting death," the expert in front of the door shouted. Suddenly, endless killing intent appeared in his eyes. The space above his head started to tremble, and a crazy and terrifying aura appeared. The space was instantly torn apart, and a pitch-black hole appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Within the hole, there was a weapon flickering with lightning. It was a long blade. The expert in front of the door grabbed the hilt and pulled the long blade out of the black hole with great force. In an instant, the sky and earth lost their color. The wind and clouds moved, and a terrifying pressure enveloped the entire lightning divine hall. Following that, a sharp blade light streaked across the sky. In the distance, Zi Chen, who was trapped, saw this scene. His expression instantly turned into shock, and various other exaggerated expressions that lingered for a long time. The sharp blade light streaked across the sky and landed on the group of Sky Origin Realm martial artists. No matter who they were or which family they were from, under this blade light, their bodies were sliced into 2 and shattered. With a single strike, all of the Sky Origin Realm martial artists died. As for the Earth Origin Realm martial artists, they were so scared that they frantically retreated. Chapter 1034. The instant the blade appeared, the entire sky martial continent shook. The powerful auras that were in deep slumber woke up one after another, and illusory voices rang out. Heaven-defying, that's a heaven-defying artifact. I never thought that the opening of the lightning divine palace would also draw out a heaven-defying artifact. Heaven-defying artifacts are appearing one after another. Looks like it won't be long before the final heaven-defying battle. Heaven-defying artifacts are indeed coveted, but it's a pity that it's not the right time yet. Voices rang out one after another, and then slowly disappeared. The powerful auras also began to retract, as if those experts had once again fallen into deep slumber. The might of a single blade killed many heavenly Yuan realm experts, and the entire lightning divine palace fell into a deathly silence. The Earth Yuan realm experts ran out, their faces pale and filled with fear. What happened? Outside, an Earth Yuan realm expert asked. Just now, they saw a dazzling light flash across the sky. However, the light flashed and disappeared very quickly, so they did not know what exactly happened. Dead, they're all dead. A single blade killed all the heavenly Yuan realm experts. When the news spread out, the faces of the experts changed. What? They're all dead! This news was extremely shocking, and very quickly, heavenly Yuan realm experts rushed over. However, they did not dare to enter. The aura of the heaven-defying artifact was still surging, and when the heavenly Yuan realm experts sensed it, their faces changed. The doors of the lightning divine palace were completely open, but there were no powers that dared to enter. Within the lightning, the shock on Zi Chen's face did not disappear for a long time. The might of that single blade was simply too shocking, too tyrannical. However, after the shock, he began to worry for his own life. Being trapped here, even if he did not die, he would not be able to leave. It was no different from dying. "Senior, please let me out." Seeing the expert in front of the door keep that terrifying blade, Zi Chen, whose pressure had dissipated by quite a bit, waited for a moment before speaking. The expert coldly swept a glance at Zi Chen, and then lightning descended, bathing Zi Chen in lightning once again. It was as if he was being baptized by lightning, but the pain was something that Zi Chen was unable to endure, and he could not help but scream. Everything turned quiet, and no one attacked the lightning divine palace anymore. Other than the lightning, the only thing that remained in the lightning divine palace was Zi Chen's miserable shrieks. Zi Chen was attacked by lightning all day long. His whole body was bathed in the lightning, and some wonderful changes happened. This was the sign of an increase in strength. But Zi Chen was not happy because he could not leave and could only wait for death here. Moreover, he needed to consume resources every day to recover the lightning energy he had consumed. In short, this was an extremely painful process. After a bunch of Heaven Origin Realm warriors died, a few more Heaven Origin Realm warriors came from the outside world. There were even more Earth Origin Realm warriors. They had completely surrounded the Lightning Divine Hall, but they did not continue to attack. They were all extremely fearful of the Lightning Divine Hall. During this time, even the demon race, which had many experts, did not dare to recklessly approach. This situation lasted for a full 10 days. After 10 days, the ancient race sent someone over once more. This time, it was a Heaven's Origin cultivator. The moment he arrived, he only said 5 words. "The time isn't right. Retreat." With just 5 words, the ancient race retreated without the slightest bit of hesitation. As for the demon race who came with the ancient race, they stayed behind. However, they were extremely puzzled, as they did not understand why the ancient race retreated. The other powers went to the ancient race to inquire for information, but did not receive any effective reply. After that, the various powers stayed for another half a month before retreating one by one. Of course, not all of them left, as they left behind a few human origin realm warriors to guard the place. Thus, an extremely comical and strange scene appeared in this attack on the Lightning Divine Palace. This attack on the Lightning Divine Palace took the shortest amount of time in history with the least number of casualties. Such a battle result could almost be recorded in the annals of history. However, at the same time, it was also the fastest to retreat. The battles recorded in history would at least last for 1 to 2 years. However, this time it was shortened by about 10 times and only took 1 to 2 months. The various powers were unwilling to retreat, leaving behind a few people to watch from afar, to see if any changes would occur in the Lightning Divine Palace. Another 2 months passed, and the damaged door of the Lightning Divine Palace suddenly reappeared. The Lightning Divine Palace, which was originally unobstructed, once again became hazy, vast, and dignified. This change caused the other powers to quickly report it. Very quickly, the experts of the various powers arrived. Even the demon race had come, but the ancient race was the only one missing. Looks like the Lightning Divine Palace is going to hide. With no one attacking, the Lightning Divine Palace will naturally hide. Everyone unanimously affirmed before sighing. After 10,000 years of waiting, they did not expect that this would be the result. This attack on the Lightning Divine Palace had a strong start but weak finish. It was all bark and no bite. However, such actions were also due to the ancient race discovering a few ancient books. Furthermore, a few prophecies had appeared in the various powers. These prophecies were about becoming gods, and all of them pointed towards the next attack on the Lightning Divine Palace. Thus, this time, the various powers did not truly show their strength. Rumble. Suddenly, the sound of rolling thunder resounded from the Lightning Divine Palace. Following that, lightning completely engulfed the Lightning Divine Palace. In the next instant, the space split apart, and the huge Lightning Divine Palace slowly floated into the spatial turbulence, before finally disappearing. The 10,000-year Lightning Divine Palace ended abruptly. All the powers had suffered some losses, but they were not huge and were all within a controllable range. The entire Sky Martial continent seemed to have sunk into peace once again, and the Lightning Divine Palace was gradually forgotten. Even a heavenly Yuan realm expert had died, not to mention a small Zichin. In reality, there were already very few people who remembered the name Zichin. Time passed, and the peaceful Sky Martial continent gradually became turbulent. Regardless of whether it was powers or wandering cultivators, they all began to fight for resources. Because of resources, the battles that occurred gradually became more frequent. 10 years quietly passed, and the popularity of the Lightning Divine Palace had long since disappeared. However, another problem was placed in front of the various powers. Demon race. Without the Lightning Divine Palace, the demon race had truly become their enemy. The battles with the ancient race within the ancient road had also become extremely intense. During this period of time, although there were no heavenly Yuan realm experts participating, battles between Earth Yuan realm experts occurred frequently. Very quickly, the battles within the ancient road had continued for another 10 years. According to the ancient records, when the demon race invaded, they would sometimes fight for hundreds or even thousands of years. Therefore, a mere 20 years was nothing. However, this was also the longest time that the ancient race had bought for the Sky Martial continent. 20 years. I believe they have already made their preparations. Let the demon race out. The higher-ups of the ancient race spoke, and small worlds opened up one after another, directly connecting to the Sky Martial continent. The ancient race would no longer fight against the demon race alone. Like a flood, numerous demon race poured into the Sky Martial continent from the small worlds. Following that, a true war erupted. In the entire Sky Martial continent, every region's powerful powers gathered their experts to fight against the demon race. In the southern region, with the whole family as the leader, many heavenly Yuan realm experts had gathered to fight against the demon race. The demon race in the wasteland had also made their preparations. An entire wasteland had become a battlefield. In the sky above the wasteland, a huge spatial tunnel appeared, and numerous demon race experts descended. These were the demon race experts who had been training on the ancient path. The majority of them were at the core realm, although there were a few mortal origin realm experts. There were only a few dozen of them. However, a few dozen mortal origin realm experts were still enough to exterminate the wasteland. A group of origin realm experts led the core realm experts to attack. First, there was a large-scale battle between the two sides. This kind of battle caused many casualties, and it was the most bitter. The reason was that the demon race had just arrived, and they needed to establish a base. Therefore, the beginning of the battle was extremely tragic. In this tragic battle, the human race, which was composed of various forces, was naturally the defeated side. After the demon race established a base, there were fewer large-scale battles. Next came small-scale battles. However, these small-scale battles were also extremely bitter. For a place like the Sky Marshall Continent, it wouldn't be long before the Sky Marshall Continent was devoured by these small-scale battles. Fortunately, no demon race experts had come to the Sky Marshall Continent. Long before the demon race had arrived, the everlasting sects LV Pung had sealed off the transportation formation leading to the Sky Marshall Continent. So, with the war imminent, the everlasting sect had to make full use of this time to increase their strength. There had been no news of the Lightning Divine Hall, so Su Mengyao and the others didn't know whether Zichen was alive or not. It was natural for them to be worried, but they weren't alarmed. Su Mengyao was certain that Zichen was still alive. As time passed, more and more demon race experts entered the Marshall Heaven continent through the ancient path. As the battle erupted, a few small places were gradually occupied by the demon race. In other words, the demon race had become the masters and the humans who survived became slaves. Following that, the demon race experts began to establish transportation formations in various regions of the Marshall Heaven continent that led directly to the demon race. The ancient path was just a training ground. It could be considered a minor world, and it wasn't the real world. Even after the demon race succeeded in occupying it, they didn't have much use for it. In the Bedlam lands, 30 years after the war broke out, the entire area was completely occupied by the demon race. The demon race had also established a base here and opened a transmission channel. Next, the demon race would use the transmission channel to invade other places. The first place they reached was the Heavenly Barbarian Pavilion's base, which was now known as the Forbidden Region. In these 30 years, quite a few demon race experts had lost their lives here. One of the Earth Origin Realm experts had been heavily injured, and the demon race had given up on this place. Now that 30 years had passed, the demon race had successfully occupied the Sky Marshall continent. Naturally, they wouldn't allow such a place to appear. So what they wanted to do was to destroy this place. Counting from the time the Lightning Divine Hall disappeared till now, it had already been a full 50 years. Within these 50 years, the entire Sky Marshall continent had seen the rise of numerous experts. Amongst them, the spiritual bodies had even made an illustrious name for themselves. Although the undefeated legend had been broken, the fighting strength of the spiritual bodies was definitely at the peak amongst those of the same level. There were spirit bodies amongst the humans, but there were also powerful existences amongst the demon race. They were almost evenly matched with the spirit body experts. Just as everyone had forgotten the name Zichen and the glory he had created, one day, the void suddenly split open, and a figure fell from the sky, smashing into the ground like a meteor. Chapter 1035. For the past 50 years, Zichen had been living an inhuman life. Although his strength had increased by leaps and bounds, he could not bear to look back on the past. In the past 40 years, he had exhausted all the resources he had. Furthermore, in that place, techniques and recovery abilities could not be used at all, so he had to rely on resources to maintain his life. And in the last 10 years, the reason why Zichen was able to survive was all because of the lightning liquid that the dragon head had swallowed back then. This allowed Zichen to live through those 10 years peacefully. Being baptized by lightning day and night, Zichen felt as if his entire body was about to turn into a bolt of lightning. However, the rewards were proportional to the torment. Zichen's strength had also increased by leaps and bounds in a short 50 years. He had broken through to the middle stage of the mortal origin realm, and was not far from the late stage. However, what was worth mentioning was that right after the lightning liquid was completely consumed, the dragon head shone with a ray of light and left Zichen, disappearing without a trace. And it was also at that moment that Zichen felt a huge force assaulting him. Then he left the lightning divine palace and descended from the sky. Bang! Zichen's body heavily smashed onto the ground like a meteor. With a loud bang, a huge crater appeared on the ground, and dust flew everywhere. When Zichen got up, the clothes and inner armor on his body had all turned into ashes. After experiencing the baptism of lightning for 50 years, these inner armors that were of decent quality had not successfully transformed and had instead turned into ashes. This showed how powerful the lightning was. The naked Zichen's body flickered with the light of lightning. His slender figure had almost reached perfection, and every part of his body was filled with powerful strength. With a flash of light, a black robe appeared on Zichen's body, and Zichen walked out from the crater. Looking around, this place was surrounded by mountains. It was a forest with tall trees, but it was completely silent. Even the cries of ordinary birds could not be heard. Just as Zichen was guessing what kind of place this was, the sound of something breaking through the air suddenly came from the horizon. Following the investigation of his spiritual sense, Zichen's face slightly changed. The devil race. It's actually the devil race. Zichen's face was filled with shock. Could this be the ancient road, and I'm in the middle of it? The demons arrived quickly. There were a total of 8 of them. The leader was in the mortal essence realm, while the rest were in the core essence realm. If this was the ancient road, there would be a suppression of cultivation levels. However, Zichen did not sense it. Besides that, he was sure that this was not the ancient road after trying to sense the thunder command. It wasn't the ancient path, but the devil race had come. Their meaning was clear. In the past 50 years, the devil race had invaded the martial heaven continent. A calamity had descended. Human. A group of demons stepped forward and surrounded Zichen. Cold light flashed in their eyes as they released killing intent. How dare you come to our territory? You're courting death. The group of devilish beings naturally saw the deep crater on the ground and guessed that this human had most likely stumbled into this place by mistake. Over the past few decades, they had already become accustomed to this kind of situation. There was demonic chi in the teleportation formation, which greatly reduced its stability, so it was very normal for such a situation to occur. The leader of the demons, Yuan Jing, looked at Zichen and coldly said, "If it was any other time, we would naturally give you a choice to live. But today, we don't have the time to bring you back. Consider yourself unlucky." "Are you busy exterminating the other races?" asked Zichen. "Exterminating a race isn't an exaggeration. We're just going to reclaim one race," said the demon proudly. "Right now, there are quite a few forces relying on our devil race." When Zichen heard this, he was clearly surprised. But after thinking about it, he understood. Humans were too smart. They had many ideas in their minds. It was normal for them to make strange choices. Just as Zichen was frowning, a trace of qi naturally escaped. Sensing the qi of the human origin realm, the group of demons' faces changed greatly. The leader of the demons was surprised, but he wasn't afraid. He then said, "So it's the human origin realm. No wonder you're so brave. Well, I'll give you a choice. Join our devil race." Seeing that Zichen didn't speak, the demon continued, "Right now, there are many powerhouses relying on us. Not to mention you. Even the ancient royal Lei clan in the past had joined our devil race." "What? The Lei clan also joined your devil race?" Zichen's expression immediately changed. The demon proudly said, "Of course, there's a very powerful powerhouse from the Lei clan. Right now, our devil race is cooperating with him to subdue the Lei clan. Let me tell you, if we succeed this time, our devil race will successfully subdue the Lei clan. What do you think? Even the Lei clan will join us, let alone you." Zi Qin seemed to be moved by the demon's words. He asked, "Then what do I need to do?" The demon laughed. "You don't need to do anything usually. Only when the devil race is in danger will we need you to help." Zi Qin nodded. "Okay, I'll join you. Come with me. If you're late, you won't be able to see the good show." The demon laughed and then led Zi Qin deeper into the devil race. "Lei clan, have I already arrived in the eastern continent?" Zi Qin heard from Lei Ming that the Lei clan was located in the eastern continent. However, it was very mysterious and ordinary people couldn't find it. He didn't expect that after the devil race's invasion, they would find the Lei clan. Zi Qin still remembered the promise he made to the Lei clan's powerhouse in the holy burial ground. He would bring back the Lei clan skeleton and bury it in the Lei clan. For many years, Zi Qin had placed the skeleton that had turned into specks of light in a special space in the purple gold gourd. While chatting, Zi Qin learned the name of the demon race's human origin realm expert, Mo Lizi. It seemed that he trusted Zi Qin very much, or perhaps he thought that Zi Qin was already in the palm of his hand. Mo Lizi told Zi Qin many stories about the battles between the devil race and the human race. Originally, the two sides were naturally mortal enemies, but with the devil race's encampment here, the relationship between the two sides eased. Under the devil race's rule, although the lives of the human race were still worthless, at least they had some human rights. The devil race no longer casually slaughtered the human race under their jurisdiction, but protected them by rules. This was the devil race's way of survival. After all, they were fighting across realms, so it was unrealistic to want to kill all the human race. They still needed the human race to work for them, so killing all of them was not worth the loss. The Thunder Clan's location is very secretive. Ordinary people simply can't find it. Fortunately, we have a member of the Thunder Clan on our side. While speaking, Mo Lizi led Zi Qin to an even bigger mountain forest. There were many peaks in the forest, and the group flew from one peak to another before finally stopping in front of a huge peak. The huge peak in front of them looked ordinary, and Zi Qin's spiritual sense didn't detect any abnormalities, but Mo Lizi said that the Thunder Clan was here. Afterwards, Mo Lizi walked towards a stone wall on the mountain peak. Suddenly, ripples of light flickered on the stone wall, and Mo Lizi's figure disappeared. Seeing this scene, Zi Qin's expression changed slightly. At the same time, he sighed in admiration at the Thunder Clan's brilliant concealment methods. Mo Lizi reappeared and said, "Zi Qin, let's go." This was the name Zi Qin had accidentally revealed. After saying it, he had a bad feeling and was about to start a massacre. But who would have thought that the devil race didn't react at all to this name? 50 years had passed, and even the influence of the Thunder God Temple had disappeared, let alone a mere human origin realm expert like Zi Qin. Zi Qin nodded and followed the others inside. The inside of the mountain peak was like a completely different world. The sun was shining brightly, and birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant. However, the heaven and earth were filled with billowing devil chi, as well as an oppressive aura, which greatly destroyed the beautiful environment. In this world, there were many devil race experts, and the weakest were at the core realm, while the strongest were at the human origin realm. The number of human origin realm experts exceeded 100, and this was also the reason why Mo Lizi didn't fear Zi Qin. If Mo Lizi's tone when speaking to Zi Qin before could be said to be amiable, then after encountering so many devil race experts along the way, Mo Lizi's tone became much more unyielding. Even his core realm experts seemed to be on equal footing with Zi Qin, who was at the human origin realm. "You all disperse. I'll take Zi Qin to see the world," Mo Lizi said indifferently. Several core realm experts dispersed, and Mo Lizi followed Zi Qin to the center of this small world. This world wasn't big, but there were flashes of lightning from time to time. The whole world contained relatively pure lightning energy. Lightning energy had a suppressive effect on devil chi. If an ordinary devil race expert came here, they would definitely suffer a great loss. Unfortunately, there were too many devil race experts here, and with the Thunder Clan experts leading the way, it could be said that the Thunder Clan was caught unprepared and many of their methods were rendered useless. After flying for more than 10 miles, Zichen saw two groups of people confronting each other. One group was made up of ordinary humans, and each of them was filled with righteous indignation, their eyes spitting fire. The other group was made up of devil race experts, and in front of them stood a young human with a complacent smile on his face, looking down at the Thunder Clan experts. From afar, Zichen heard the young man speak. 3 days have passed, old man. Have you thought it through? Are you going to hand over the position of patriarch, or let all of the Thunder Clan members die with you? As soon as the young man finished speaking, one of the Thunder Clan members shouted, Lei Dong, have you forgotten who insisted on letting you go back then? You are. The young man looked at the Thunder Clan member who spoke, and there was a trace of ridicule on his face. Lei Ming, humph, if it wasn't for the patriarch, you would have died countless times. I didn't expect you to not know how to repay kindness, and even collude with the devil race to deal with my Thunder Clan. Lei Ming said angrily, Oh, you're that trash, Lei Ming? Not bad, huh? I haven't seen you for many years, and you've already stepped into the mortal origin realm. Lei Dong's face was full of ridicule, but soon his expression turned cold. Yes, that old man did me a favor, so I came back this time to repay my kindness. As long as he gives up his position, I promise not to kill a single one of you. The Thunder Clan experts trembled with anger, and only the old patriarch's face was ugly, but he was still calm. Lei Dong, you can be considered a genius of the Thunder Clan. If you didn't make such a huge mistake back then, we wouldn't have expelled you. How about this? If you plan to turn over a new leaf and return to the Thunder Clan, we will let bygones be bygones. The old patriarch said, Uft, old thing, don't mention what happened back then. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Don't try to curry favor with me. Just tell me, do you want to live or die? Lei Dong said angrily. The old clan leader frowned slightly. In Lei Dong's opinion, the old clan leader was in a difficult situation. He immediately sneered. In fact, the old patriarch was thinking about a prophecy from the Thunder Clan. Chapter 1036. Since many years ago, the Thunder Clan had been on the decline. They had lost a large number of cultivation arts, and the number of experts had dwindled. In addition to the loss of resources, the Thunder Clan was no longer as strong as the other ancient clans. However, there was once a Xiantian fortune-teller in the Thunder Clan. He left behind a few prophecies for the Thunder Clan. The prophecies came true one after another. The last prophecy was that the Thunder Clan would rise again in the midst of a crisis. The invasion of the devil race, Lei Dong colluded with both inside and outside, wanting to annihilate the Thunder Clan. Obviously, the Thunder Clan's crisis was referring to the present. But where was the turning point? What was the meaning of a rebirth? The old patriarch didn't understand. He waited for 3 days, but there was still no turning point. Hand over the position of the patriarch, and I will lead the Thunder Clan to cooperate with the devil race, returning the Thunder Clan to the peak. I guarantee that no one will die. If you don't know what's good for you, then I'm sorry, I don't care about the position of the patriarch, but everyone in the Thunder Clan will die. Lei Dong was getting impatient and started to threaten. You. The old patriarch's face turned ashen. He glared at Lei Dong and said, Lei Dong, do you know what you're doing? The devil race is the enemy of the Thunder Clan and the entire human race. Our Thunder Clan used to be so strong, but because of the devil race, we became like this. The Thunder Clan and the devil race are mortal enemies. Lei Dong snorted coldly and said, When you expelled me from the Thunder Clan, I no longer admit that I'm from the Thunder Clan. Moreover, I have the confidence to form a Thunder Clan because I have all the cultivation arts of the Thunder Clan. What? The expressions of the Thunder Clan members changed drastically. A sinister smile appeared on Lei Dong's face. You didn't expect this, right? Haha. I had all the cultivation arts of the Thunder Clan, but you guys insisted on expelling me. Hee, now you regret it. The emotions of the Thunder Clan members became incomparably complicated. At this moment, Lei Ming snorted and said, So what if you have all the cultivation arts? You're still a despicable person who doesn't know how to be grateful. If the Thunder Clan were to be handed over to you, they would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Trash, you're courting death. A cold light flashed in Lei Dong's eyes. I think you're the one courting death. Today, let me, Lei Ming, see how strong a genius like you is. With that, Lei Ming rushed towards Lei Dong. In fact, Lei Ming's talent was not considered low. If he was placed in a barbaric land, he would definitely be considered a demon-level existence. However, even so, in Lei Dong's eyes, Lei Ming's talent was still like trash. It wasn't that Lei Ming's aptitude was low, but that Lei Dong's aptitude was too high. It was precisely because of this that the old patriarch still decided to let Lei Dong off when he made a huge mistake. His original intention was to not let this genius fall. Lei Ming stepped on the 9 flashes of thunder and lightning. His speed was extremely fast as he headed straight for Lei Dong. This is the 9 lightning deaths. There was a tinge of surprise in Lei Dong's eyes. However, a glow flashed under his feet and he dodged Lei Ming's attack at the same speed. Trash, I didn't expect you to know the 9 lightning deaths. I wonder how many of the 9 lightning deaths you have mastered. Lei Dong mocked. You don't need to know how much I've mastered. You just need to know that it's enough to kill you. Lei Ming snorted coldly and formed a seal with his hands. This time, it was the Thunderbolt finger. Lightning flashed on the thick fingerprints, and there were runes flashing outside the lightning. Its power was extraordinary, and it went straight for Lei Dong. However, Lei Dong also used the Thunderbolt finger in the next moment. The power of the two was about the same, and the energy dissipated in the collision. Interesting. You have both the 9 lightning deaths and the Thunderbolt finger. Looks like you've had quite a few fortuitous encounters. However, I wonder how many of the Lei clan's techniques a trash like you knows. Lei Dong still didn't care. Heavenly Thunder Seal. Lei Ming shouted. A loud rumbling sound came from the sky, and a huge seal fell. On the 4 sides of the Thunder Seal, there are 4 malevolent lightning dragons. It's just a small trick. There's nothing to worry about. This attack was easily resolved by Lei Dong. After using all his strength to attack, Lei Ming started to pant. However, Lei Dong's expression didn't change. Both of them were at the same level, and it was obvious who had the upper hand. However, Lei Ming wasn't convinced. He shouted, I still have one last move. As soon as he finished speaking, the lightning power around him started to surge, converging on his back. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the lightning power on Lei Ming's back suddenly turned into a pair of lightning wings. The lightning wings seemed to have materialized, flapping in the air, creating a strong gale. Innate technique, lightning wings. Interesting, very interesting. However, this is a fake after all. Compared to the Lei clan's real Heavenly Thunder Wings, it's still too weak. Oh, Heavenly Thunder Wings? You guys have only heard of it, but not seen it. Fine. Today, I let you guys who haven't seen the world open your eyes. All of you open your dog eyes wide and look carefully. This is the Heavenly Thunder Wings that you guys haven't seen in your entire life. Lei Dong's body suddenly flashed with boundless lightning, and then a pair of bone wings appeared on his back. These were pure bone wings, and also the real Heavenly Thunder Wings. The moment they appeared, a wave of pressure spread out, causing everyone to open their eyes wide. Heavenly Thunder Wings. These are the Heavenly Thunder Wings. Lei Ming was the most shocked in the crowd. One must know that he had seen the Heavenly Thunder Wings with his own eyes, and not just a few times. It was on Zichen's body. However, when he saw the Heavenly Thunder Wings on Lei Dong's body, his expression was as if he had seen a ghost. because the heavenly thunder wings on Lei Dong's body were almost exactly the same as Zichen's. Even the aura was almost the same. How could he have Zichen's heavenly thunder wings on him? As soon as this thought appeared, it was thrown away by Lei Ming. What kind of joke was this? Lei Dong was indeed extraordinary, but compared to Zichen, he was still a far cry. If the two of them met and fought, the one who would die would definitely be Lei Dong. Heavenly thunder wings. It's really the heavenly thunder wings, the Lei clan's treasure. The crowd of Lei clan members also shouted. They recognized it from the ancient records. All the humans present were shocked. Only Zichen frowned. Could it be that there's more than one pair of heavenly thunder wings? Just as Zichen was frowning in thought, the two in front of him were already fighting. The real and fake heavenly thunder wings clashed, creating a series of explosions. However, in just one exchange, Lei Ming was completely defeated. The wings on Lei Ming's back dissipated, and he flew back. Blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. He had been injured in the exchange just now. Lei Dong's heavenly thunder wings were unfurled, and he was in the air. Combined with the lightning around him, he looked like a god of thunder. Looking down at Lei Ming, he icily said, "Trash will always be trash. Even if you have a fortuitous encounter, you're still trash." Lei Ming clenched his teeth, his eyes filled with fury. He once more charged at Lei Dong. Scram! Lei Dong easily sent Lei Ming flying with a single attack. "My time is limited. Hurry up!" Lei Dong had already lost his patience and decided to kill him. But before he could finish speaking, his expression suddenly changed, and he turned to look at the devil race. His gaze swept over the group of devil race members, landing on the only human among them, Zichen. Seeing that the other party was a human, he was clearly surprised. But seeing Zichen together with the devil race members, Lei Dong immediately understood what was going on. He asked, "Friend, you seem to have something I need." The two of them exchanged glances. Zichen faintly smiled. "Although I hate the whole friend thing, especially when it comes from you, I have to admit that you're right. You do have something I need." Just now, Zichen had stealthily activated his heavenly thunder wings. In that instant, Zichen felt an attractive force coming from the front. This attractive force was also like a kind of summoning. Originally, Zichen had guessed that the heavenly thunder wings had more than one pair of wings. Now that he felt the attraction and the summoning force, he was even more certain that the heavenly thunder wings had more than one pair of wings. There were at least two pairs, and the second pair was obviously in Lei Dong's hands. The conversation between the two confused the group of devil race members. But when the group of Thunder Clan members saw Zichen, their expressions changed. Then, anger appeared on their faces. Obviously, they thought that Zichen was another person who had abandoned himself and wallowed with the devil race. Zichen. Suddenly, a pleasantly surprised voice sounded. Lei Ming looked at Zichen in disbelief. His face was full of excitement. The group of Thunder Clan members didn't know Zichen, nor had they seen Zichen before. However, this didn't prevent them from hearing the name Zichen. One must know that after Lei Ming returned, he had been constantly mentioning the name Zichen. Everyone's ears were almost covered with calluses from hearing it. Now that they suddenly heard Lei Ming call this young man Zichen, the Thunder Clan members were shocked. The young man standing with the devil race in front of them was Zichen of the Thunder Clan. He was the one who had mastered many lightning skills and killed the invincible spirit body Zichen. "Zichen, what's going on?" Seeing the change in the Thunder Clan members' expressions, Emo Lizzie stared at Zichen with an unsightly expression. Zichen smiled and said, "I'm a member of the Thunder Clan. Thank you for bringing me back. In order to express my gratitude, I'll allow you to leave this group of devil race members alive." After saying that, Zichen swaggered towards the group of Thunder Clan members. He looked at Lei Ming and asked, "If I didn't guess wrong, you should be in the everlasting sect. Why are you here?" The devil race invaded. I was worried that the Thunder Clan would be in danger, so I came back in advance to take a look. Lei Ming explained with an awkward expression. Zi Chen's back was facing the group of devil race members. This made them feel humiliated. A devil race member shouted and launched a powerful attack at Zi Chen. The powerful attack went straight for Zi Chen's back. Zi Chen didn't turn around. He only pointed a finger behind him. A silver lightning energy appeared between his fingers and fell on the devil race member's attack. The attack was instantly shattered, and at the same time, the attack landed on the devil race member's chest. PFFF! With a light sound, the devil race member's chest was pierced. His vitality was extinguished, and his body fell backwards, killing an Origin Realm devil race member with a casual attack. Such battle strength could be said to have shocked everyone present. Chapter 1037. He had easily killed an Origin Realm demon with a single strike. Such battle prowess could be said to have shocked everyone present. Zi Chen swaggered through a group of demons and headed for the Thunder Clan. During this time, no demons dared to stop him. Even Lei Dong was surprised and apprehensive. His eyes followed Zi Chen's movements. Zi Chen. Lei Ming greeted him excitedly. The other members of the Lei clan looked at Zi Chen as if they were looking at a legendary figure. Lei Ming had returned and told them about his miraculous journey on the ancient path. But every time he went on that journey, he had to have a connection with this youth from the Lei clan called Zi Chen. Every time they encountered a fortuitous encounter, this youth would be there. Other than the patriarch, no one else knew about the Lei clan's prophecy. So when he saw Zi Chen, the old patriarch's expression changed the most. Could it be that the key to the Lei clan's rise is this Zi Chen? Just as the old patriarch was guessing, Lei Dong finally spoke. He stared at Zi Chen and coldly asked, "Who are you? Why haven't I seen you in the Lei clan?" Zi Chen looked back at Lei Dong and smiled. "You're a high and mighty genius. Why would you pay attention to small figures like us?" How could Lei Dong not hear the sarcasm in those words? His expression immediately turned cold. Besides Zi Chen, Lei Ming said loudly, "Lei Dong, are you blind? You don't even recognize Zi Chen." "Do I need to know trash?" asked Lei Dong. "Trash." Lei Ming laughed. "If Zi Chen, who killed a spiritual body, is trash, then what are you, Lei Dong? You can't even be considered trash." Lei Ming continued disdainfully, "Zi Chen's name has long since spread throughout the continent. There is no one who doesn't know him. You haven't even heard of Zi Chen? Could it be that you came from the depths of the mountains?" Lei Dong's expression immediately turned ashen. Lei Ming was right. He had indeed come from the depths of the mountains. But it wasn't an ordinary mountain. It was a mountain with an ancient inheritance. However, his ashen face quickly changed once again. Even though he was deep in the mountains, he still knew about spiritual bodies. This was an existence that was known to be invincible. Lei Dong believed that he could also be called a spirit body, and a spirit body of the Thunder Clan. However, this fellow before him was an existence that had killed a spirit body before. The faces of the demons also changed. In their battles with the humans, none of them had ever come back alive after going up against a spirit body. Just as Lei Dong's expression was changing, Zi Chen opened his mouth and said, "Do you really want to know what I have that you find extremely useful?" Lei Dong subconsciously looked at Zi Chen. Then his pupils shrank as he shouted, "Heavenly Thunder Wings." At this moment, a pair of bone wings also appeared on Zi Chen's back. It was the Heavenly Thunder Wings. The lightning wings on Zi Chen's back unfurled. Lightning flashed across the bone wings, exuding an oppressive aura. The surrounding Thunder tribe members were dumbfounded. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that the legendary Thunder tribe's most precious treasure, the Heavenly Lightning Wings, would actually appear in 2 pairs today. Zi Chen smiled and said, "I'm sure you've already guessed that the Heavenly Thunder Wings are a pair. Once they fuse, they become even more powerful. Today, we'll decide who owns the heavenly thunder wings with a battle of life and death. Lei Dong's expression changed again. After taking a deep look at Zichen, he snorted and said, "You think you're qualified to fight with me?" Then he turned to the demons and said, "I've already discussed this with your lord. Now it's time for you to act. Kill him, and I can take over the Thunder Clan." They knew that the person in front of them was extraordinary, but the demons weren't afraid because they had the advantage in numbers. The leader of the demons glanced around. The others nodded, and then a murderous look appeared in their eyes. Behind Zichen, when he saw that the demons were about to attack, an Origin Realm Thunder Clan member shouted, "Fight it out with them." "Yes, fight out with them. At most, we'll die." The Thunder Clan members were excited, but Zichen waved his hand and said, "There's no need for you to act. Just back off. There aren't many Thunder Clan members, so there's no need for you to die." The Thunder Clan members were startled when they heard this. Lei Ming smiled and explained, "Don't worry. If there's one person in the world who isn't afraid of being surrounded, it's Zichen." Seeing that Lei Ming was so confident in Zichen, the others didn't say anything and retreated. Monstrous, demonic aura began to surge. It was like a solid black cloud that shrouded the surroundings. The surroundings were pitch black. Waves of powerful aura appeared. A group of demon experts rushed toward Zichen. "Kill!" In the midst of the battle cries, the sound of energy vibrations could be heard. There were dozens of human origin realm cultivators. They were confident that they could kill a human in their own territory. Lei Dong was also very confident, because even if this guy called Zichen didn't die, he should be heavily injured. Then what awaited him at that time would be his crazy attacks, and he would definitely die. The sound of vibrations continued to ring. The black cloud began to surge crazily. Then there was the sound of something heavy falling on the ground. All kinds of noises lasted for about 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, all kinds of noises disappeared. There's no sound. The demonic aura is dissipating. Is he dead? Everyone's eyes fell on the disappearing black cloud. Their expressions were full of expectation. They all wanted to see the final outcome. When the black cloud disappeared, there were 2 figures standing in the sky. One was a human figure, the other was a demon figure. One was Zichen, and the other was Mo Lizzie, who Zichen promised to let go. At this moment, Mo Lizzie's face was full of fear. His tall body was trembling. He had never seen a human with such strength. Killing a demon of the same level was as easy as killing a dog. What? Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. They looked at the human and demon in disbelief. He killed dozens of demons without a single injury. Is he still human? Lei Dong's face suddenly became pale. He didn't know why, but in his heart there was an indescribable fear. Cheers came from the Thunder Tribe. It was the Thunder Tribe's people who woke up from their shock. I said I would spare your life. Now you can back off. Zichen waved his hand at Mo Lizzie. The latter's body retreated like a robot. His eyes were blank. Just now, in the black cloud, Zichen's strength had completely frightened him. Now it's time for the 2 of us. Zichen stared at Lei Dong. Lei Dong fiercely glared at Zichen and said loudly, "Come, do you think I'm afraid of you? Let me tell you, today I, Lei Dong, will definitely kill you, then merge with my bone wings and subdue you." Before Lei Dong could finish, Zichen moved. With a flap of his wings, he appeared in front of Lei Dong in a flash. I hate it when people are noisy. A huge fist appeared in front of Lei Dong and went straight for his face. Lei Dong shouted. He raised his hand and shot out a beam of energy. At the same time, he pushed out both of his palms, trying to block the attack. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Lei Dong flew backwards. Both of his arms were pulled down. His face was pale. Zichen's punch made him feel what true power was. Thunder, fall! Lei Dong, who was flying backwards, shouted loudly. He pointed his finger towards the sky. In the sky, lightning flashed and streaks of lightning appeared one after another. They meandered like lightning dragons and descended from the sky. They carried a powerful aura and went straight for Zichen. In Zichen's hand, a light flashed and a silver moon soared into the sky. The silver moon rotated, cutting through the lightning. The lightning was instantly split apart and exploded in the sky. Before the lightning could fall, it was cut and shattered by the silver moon. Heavenly Thunder Seal! Lei Dong shouted again, but this time, before the Heavenly Thunder Seal appeared, Zichen flashed in front of Lei Dong and punched him in the chest. The thunder battle armor on Lei Dong's chest exploded. He spat out blood and flew backwards again. His face was filled with shock. Swoosh! 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 Zichen's figure was constantly changing in the air, as if he was teleporting, and one attack after another was launched. The lightning wings on Lei Dong's back started to vibrate. He started to dodge rhythmically. His opponent's footwork was very mysterious. It seemed to be of a higher level than Zichen's. Some of the energy attacks that seemed to be able to hit him were easily dodged by Lei Dong. As the two of them fought, the demons in the distance retreated. Most of the mortal realm warriors were dead. The rest were elixir realm warriors. Seeing that the situation was not good, some elixir realm warriors had already escaped. The two of them fought fiercely in the sky. The forest below couldn't withstand the pressure and exploded. Rocks rolled down and the mountain collapsed. Smoke and dust filled the sky. The more Lei Dong fought with Zichen, the more frightened he became. He felt that things were not going well. In terms of techniques, he had mastered all the techniques of the Thunder Clan. He had more than Zichen, but his many techniques couldn't compare to his opponent's one punch. With one punch, all of his mysterious attacks would be dissolved. Thunderclap, ninth heaven! Lei Dong suddenly gritted his teeth and shouted. At the same time, he pointed to the sky with one hand. The void suddenly broke open. A shining long sword fell from the sky. Around the long sword, there were lightning snakes circling around it. It was dazzling. When the long sword appeared, the heavens and the earth were filled with a vast power. In this small world, the power of lightning boiled and gathered from all directions towards the long sword. This is another treasure of the Thunder Clan, the Heavenly Thunder Sword. Seeing the long sword in the sky, the people of the Thunder Clan were shocked again. No, it's only formed by energy. It's not the real Heavenly Thunder Sword. The old clan leader saw the problem. Zichen's perfect spiritual sense had already noticed that it was an energy sword. He clenched his fist and rushed towards the Heavenly Thunder Sword. Slash! Lei Dong shouted. He waved his two fingers in front of him. The Heavenly Thunder Sword in the sky buzzed and slashed towards Zichen. The power of this slash was extremely terrifying. The power of lightning surged and thousands of lightning flashed. The appearance of this attack was the same as the one used by the Thunder God. But its power, boom! Zichen pushed his golden fist to the limit, shattering the thousands of lightning bolts. The Heavenly Thunder Sword in the middle of the lightning bolts was also shattered. The power of lightning dissipated in the sky. Zichen looked at Lei Dong and said, "Show me your strongest power, otherwise you will die today." Lei Dong's expression changed again. In the end, the aura around him increased by another level. He couldn't defeat Zichen in the middle stage of the mortal origin realm, but he was still hiding his strength. Chapter 1038. Lei Dong still felt lucky that he couldn't defeat Zichen after suppressing his realm. After all, this wasn't his true power. Zichen was known to be able to kill souls, so his power was naturally extraordinary. Therefore, Lei Dong decided to suppress his realm and see what kind of tricks his opponent had. This situation was just like how he dealt with Lei Ming. However, it was a pity that Zichen would only be Zichen, not Lei Ming, nor would he be anyone else. With 3 pages of the arcane tomes in his body, he was known as the strongest among those at the same level. Therefore, as soon as the battle started, Lei Dong who was suppressing his cultivation level, was suppressed by Zichen. This suppression continued until Lei Dong had no choice but to use his full strength. After using his full power, Lei Dong was at the middle stage of the mortal origin realm. In his opinion, this realm was enough to suppress Zichen. However, he didn't expect that after using his full power, not only was Lei Dong unable to suppress Zichen, the gap between the two of them was even widening. Before he could use the thunderclap, ninth heaven that he was most proud of, before the heavenly thunder sword pierced Zichen's chest, Zichen punched him in the face. After that, he spat out blood and teeth, flew backwards, and rolled on the ground. Pum! With the power of one punch, Lei Dong's body landed heavily on the ground, creating a deep hole. The hole was a few meters deep, and a lot of dust flew up. Lei Dong didn't have time to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He used the force to fly up. However, just as he flew out of the hole, he met with a glowing foot. Zichen's foot firmly stepped on Lei Dong's face. A clear footprint appeared, and Lei Dong's body fell into the hole again. The hole deepened again. Thunderclap, ninth heaven. This time, Lei Dong was obviously smarter. He shouted from the hole and didn't rush out again. As soon as he finished speaking, the void split open again, and another heavenly thunder sword fell from the sky. The heavenly thunder sword flashed with lightning, and there were many lightning snakes swimming around. It carried an aura that made many warriors of the Thunder Clan tremble as it attacked Zichen. This attack was even stronger than the previous one. Lei Dong was confident that he could deal with Zichen. Zichen raised his head to look at the sword. Suddenly, a mocking smile appeared on his lips. His essence, chi and spirit rose to the peak. His entire body turned from lightning to golden light. The golden light was dazzling and dazzling. With a domineering aura, it blasted towards the heavenly thunderblade. Boom! Amidst the tremors, the golden fist aura smashed into the sword blade, shattering the sword blade and dispersing the lightning snakes in the sky. It was a complete defeat. At this moment, Zichen had completely crushed Lei Dong. Such a powerful combat strength shocked everyone from the lightning tribe. The devils in the distance retreated to a safe distance and were prepared to flee at any moment. When Zichen shattered the heavenly thunder sword, Lei Dong jumped out of the pit. His clothes were torn in many places, stained with blood and dust. His hair was disheveled, and he was in an extremely sorry state. His face was filled with shock as he pointed at Zichen and said, You! He stuttered for a long time but couldn't say a word. Zichen's expression didn't change. He took another step in the air and rushed towards Lei Dong. The dazzling golden light and the lightning-like speed made him look like a cannonball. Boom! The golden light accurately hit Lei Dong, and with another tremor, the void was torn apart. Energy ripples spread out in all directions. Lei Dong's body paused in the air, and then he was blown away, leaving a line of blood behind him. This time, Lei Dong retreated more than 10 miles. Part of it was because of Zichen's strength, but more of it was because Lei Dong borrowed the force to retreat. The expression on his face changed from shock to fear, and he even had the intention to retreat. He thought that his combat strength was comparable to the spiritual body. Otherwise, the devils wouldn't have tried to recruit him and let others take over the lightning tribe. But compared to Zichen, Lei Dong felt that his combat strength was too weak. The two were not at the same level at all. If he wanted to suppress him, he would have to increase his strength to the late stage of the Renuon realm. At this moment, knowing that he couldn't win and that his plan had failed, he decided to escape. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. But this small thought of his was seen through by Zichen. Before he could stabilize himself and escape with the help of the lightning wings, Zichen turned into a ray of light and rushed towards him. It was the same attack as before. A punch landed on Lei Dong's chest, and Lei Dong was blown away again. Coughing up blood was inevitable. But what was strange was that after receiving so many attacks, Lei Dong's bones didn't show any signs of breaking. One should know that if it was someone else who received Zi Chen's attacks, they would have been blown apart. When Zi Chen approached Lei Dong again, he began to use close combat. His body stuck close to Lei Dong, and he launched a series of attacks. These attacks could be from any part of the body, including the hands, elbows, and fingers. In short, under Zi Chen's all-out attacks, Lei Dong's injuries were more serious, and he coughed up more blood, but there were no signs of his bones breaking. Zi Chen was very curious about this, and decided to find out. But at this moment, Lei Dong took the opportunity to shake his lightning wings and use his mysterious footwork to increase the distance between them. In the eyes of the crowd, two winged humans were fighting fiercely in the air. The power of this kind of battle was very terrifying, and many of the forests below had been destroyed. The crisis of the Thunder Clan was solved. At this moment, all the people of the Thunder Clan had the leisure to enjoy this battle. This was a battle between two geniuses of the Thunder Clan. When the crowd saw this, they couldn't help but feel greedy. If only the two of them were friends instead of enemies. All these years, the Thunder Clan had been trying to find the Thunder Clan's techniques. They thought that the reason why the Thunder Clan couldn't really rise was because of the Thunder Clan's techniques. But now, in the battle in the air, Zi Chen used facts to tell them that even without techniques, the Thunder Clan could still rise. Because now, Zi Chen wasn't using any of the Thunder Clan's techniques. He was using pure strength. This kind of strength suppression prevented Lei Dong from using any of the Thunder Clan's techniques. At this moment, Lei Dong could only passively take a beating. Suddenly, Zi Chen circled behind Lei Dong and grabbed the bone wings on Lei Dong's back with both hands. He began to exert force in his hands. "What are you doing?" Lei Dong shouted. His voice became sharp, and his tone was panicked and frightened. The energy in his body surged continuously, wanting to shake off Zi Chen. Zi Chen's hands suddenly flashed with golden light, and then a powerful force appeared. Is he going to pull out the heavenly thunder wings? Seeing Zi Chen's action, all the people of the Thunder Clan were shocked. "Huh!" Zi Chen shouted. His hands that were shining with golden light suddenly shone from his entire body. Wave after wave of energy was injected into Lei Dong's body. Then, Zi Chen used this energy to pull the heavenly thunder wings. Ah! Lei Dong was suppressed and couldn't help but scream. The roots of the heavenly thunder wings were being pulled out bit by bit. This feeling was like using brute force to extract bone marrow. Lei Dong was in so much pain that he almost fainted. "Come out!" Zi Chen shouted again, and the strength in his hands increased. The roots of the heavenly thunder wings were pulled out from Lei Dong's back, along with a large piece of flesh and the bones that connected the heavenly thunder wings. Seeing that the heavenly thunder wings were about to be pulled out, and Lei Dong was about to faint, suddenly a silver light rushed out from Lei Dong's body. This silver light was extremely powerful and pure, causing Zi Chen's expression to change. After the silver light appeared, it first circled around the heavenly thunder wings. The heavenly thunder wings that were forcefully pulled out by Zi Chen entered Lei Dong's body in the next moment and immediately became intact. Then, this silver light was like an electric current, following the heavenly thunder wings to Zi Chen's arm. After entering his arm, Zi Chen felt a numbing sensation. This silver light actually had the effect of petrification. Zi Chen felt that his arm and body were about to lose all feeling. After quickly circling around his body, the silver light rushed towards Zi Chen's abdomen. On the way to abdomen, this silver light released a powerful aura. From the looks of it, it wanted to destroy Zi Chen's abdomen. Buzz! Suddenly, the Yuan energy crystal in Zi Chen's abdomen began to vibrate. This vibration was very frequent, forming ripples that spread towards abdomen surroundings. When the silver light entered Zi Chen's abdomen, it was first hit by these ripples. It was as if it had been hit by hundreds of attacks in an instant, and the silver light actually showed signs of dissipating. Then, As if the silver light had intelligence, it actually withdrew from Zi Chen's abdomen at lightning speed. Then it followed Zi Chen's body to his arm and entered Lei Dong's body again. The numbing sensation completely disappeared after the silver light left, and the suppressed power appeared once again. This time, Zi Chen forcefully pulled out the heavenly thunder wings from Lei Dong's back. Lei Dong let out a final scream and finally fainted, his body falling to the ground. In the air, the glowing wings in Zi Chen's hands were slowly becoming smaller, and the surging light around his body was also fading. Zi Chen grabbed the thunder wings with both hands and could clearly feel the calling power from the thunder wings. Just as he let go, the thunder wings on his back vibrated, and the thunder wings in his hands shook slightly, leaving his hands and flying towards his back. The two pairs of thunder wings instantly released a boundless silver light, and the glaring silver light was like two silver suns. Then the two pairs of thunder wings approached each other and fused together. The silver light flickered, and the two thunder wings on Zi Chen's back turned into two pairs of thunder wings for wings. For wings appeared on Zi Chen's back, and the boundless silver light illuminated the entire world. The silver light was so dazzling that no one could open their eyes. Slowly, the silver light dissipated, and the thunder wings on Zi Chen's back also slowly dissipated, and then disappeared into Zi Chen's body. Zi Chen could clearly feel that the integration of the thunder wings was not successful, and it still needed some time. Moreover, it was more strenuous for him to activate the thunder wings now, and it seemed like it would take a long time for the integration. After everything was done, most of the demon clan's people in the distance had already run away. The Lei clan's people also looked at Zi Chen with extreme shock. As for the loser, Lei Dong, no one paid any attention to him. Others might not pay attention to Lei Dong, but Zi Chen could not pay attention to him, because whether it was the last ray of silver energy or Lei Dong's mastery of all the Lei clan's techniques, Zi Chen was extremely curious about them and wanted to learn more. Chapter 1039. Seeing that Lei Dong had disappeared, Zi Chen frowned and released his spiritual senses in all directions. Lei Dong disappeared silently. Zi Chen didn't notice anything. After spreading out his spiritual sense, he still couldn't find any trace of Lei Dong. Hey, where's Lei Dong? Why is Lei Dong gone? The other members of the Thunder Clan also found that Lei Dong had disappeared. Their faces were filled with confusion. Zi Chen. Lei Ming walked towards Zi Chen. Zi Chen opened his eyes. Even with his perfect spiritual sense, he still couldn't find any trace of Lei Dong. It was as if Lei Dong had disappeared into thin air. However, he was able to obtain the heavenly thunder wings today. This harvest was beyond his expectations. Zi Chen could completely sense the power hibernating in the four wings. The other members of the Thunder Clan followed behind Lei Ming. They looked at Zi Chen with eyes full of worship and admiration. Zi Chen, this is our patriarch. Lei Ming introduced. Zi Chen greets the patriarch. Zi Chen politely bowed. He was strong and had saved everyone in the Thunder Clan. He wasn't arrogant and was so polite. He was also very handsome. Many of the female cultivators of the Thunder Clan looked at Zi Chen with shining eyes. Zi Chen, thank you for your help. Otherwise, the Thunder Clan would have been in danger. The old patriarch said. After that, there was a series of thanks. Zi Chen felt a little embarrassed and waved his hand. The members of the Thunder Clan were very enthusiastic. Both men and women were very enthusiastic. Some of the young girls even wanted to bring Zi Chen back, saying that they would cook for Zi Chen. Zi Chen really couldn't stand these passionate gazes. He quickly pulled back and walked to the old patriarch. The demon race has already discovered this place. What's the patriarch's plan next? This was a question worth pondering. The old patriarch sighed and fell into deep thought. This matter concerned the future of the Thunder Clan. The surrounding people were silent. Those young girls also tactfully moved their gazes away. This is the only base of the Thunder Tribe. To think that it would be exposed just like that. Now, there are only two paths for the Thunder Tribe to survive. The old patriarch sighed and said, the first is to seal this small world so that the devil race can't enter. But if we seal it, we won't be able to get the resources of the outside world. The resources in this small world aren't enough to sustain the entire Thunder Clan. The Thunder Clan will be unable to recover from this setback. Pausing for a second, the old patriarch continued, as for the second option, that is to leave this place and find a secret, small world. But since the demon clan has come prepared, I am afraid that there will be strong demon clan cultivators guarding the small world. Maybe there are even Earth origin stage cultivators. Now there is no other way. The Lei clan had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. Even if they had declined, they were still bigger than a horse. However, what puzzled Ziqin was that the Lei clan, which had been passed down for so many years, had not produced a single earthly Yuan stage practitioner. Ziqin immediately asked, Patriarch, there's something I don't understand. Little friend Ziqin, ask away. The Lei clan has been around for so long. Even if they have declined, they should have at least Earth origin stage practitioners. Also, since the demon clan has invaded, why didn't the Earth origin stage practitioners come in? Why did they stay outside? Before the old patriarch could answer Ziqin's question, Lei Ming explained, Ziqin, there is something you don't know. The Lei clan's small world was deliberately chosen by the ancestors of the Lei clan. Only those below the earthly Yuan stage can enter this small world. As for those above the earthly Yuan stage, they have to leave this place when they break through. Leave this place? Where did they go? Why didn't they come back to help when the Lei clan is in trouble? Ziqin asked again. Lei Ming smiled bitterly and said, No one knows where the earthly Yuan stage practitioners of the Lei clan went. They seem to have disappeared from this world. As for help, earthly Yuan stage practitioners can't enter this small world. Naturally, they can't help. Lei Ming's explanation wasn't enough to convince Ziqin. The old patriarch explained, Ziqin, there is something you don't know. Today's matter was predicted by the Lei clan's experts. Predicted in advance? Ziqin's eyes widened. Yes, after the decline of the Lei clan. This is the first genius to appear. His Xiantian divination ability has reached the level of being able to predict the future. The old patriarch looked at Ziqin and said, In the past, this ancestor left behind many prophecies. Each and every one of them came true. Today's crisis is the last one. And you, according to the prophecy, are the one who will resolve this crisis for us. Hearing the old patriarch's words, the other Lei clan members couldn't believe their eyes. They shifted their gazes to Ziqin once again. Then what does the patriarch mean? The old patriarch continued, The prophecy ends here. I dare to make a decision on behalf of the Lei clan and pass you the position of patriarch. The future of the Lei clan will be decided by you. What? Pass me the position of patriarch? Ziqin was taken aback. It seemed that this old man wouldn't rest until he was shocked to death. Without you, the Lei clan would cease to exist. Even if the Lei clan still exists, the Lei clan will only serve the devil race. Hence, we believe in you unconditionally. Yes, Ziqin, we believe in you. The other Lei clan members all agreed. Lei Ming's voice was the loudest among them. This trust came too quickly. It was inconceivable. Just a single meeting, and the old patriarch already passed the position of patriarch to Ziqin. It was one thing if the patriarch wasn't strict, but it even felt like he was taking it lightly. In reality, this was the old man's decision, because the Lei clan now only had two paths. The first was to seal the area and fail. The second was to leave and die. Of these two paths, neither one was good. Hence, the old man decided to pass the choice to Ziqin. As for why he was so straightforward, it was because, although this was the first time they met, the old man had already heard about Ziqin from Lei Ming. Other than his appearance, he knew everything about him. In fact, the old man even knew that Ziqin had a few close female friends. Of course, This wasn't him gossiping. It was Lei Ming who had proudly told them. So although this was the first time they had met, they already knew about Zi Chen's character through Lei Ming. Seeing everyone's trust, Zi Chen felt a bit of pressure. He naturally wouldn't let the Lei clan hide here and gradually lose. The reason they trusted him so much was to help the Lei clan rise again. Thus, after thinking for a few breaths, Zi Chen chose to leave with them. But before that, he had to understand the Boundless Sect's situation. How is the Boundless Sect right now? The Boundless Sect is developing very well. Vice Sect Master Wang Qiong has successfully broken through to the human origin realm. Lu Peng and the others have also broken through. Last time we went back, the spirit-devouring rats discovered several small worlds with many resources. Zi Chen interrupted Lei Ming. In other words, the Boundless Sect doesn't lack resources. Lei Ming pondered for a moment. You can say that. Then what about the Devil Race? The Devil Race has occupied the Chaos Lands and made it their main base. Soon the Devil Race will expand. They might even attack the Barbarian Lands. Zi Chen nodded. Then he looked at the Lei clan members and said, "Everyone should know that I've rebuilt the Boundless Sect in the southern region. I'm the Sect Master. That place isn't bad. If you want to leave this place, I can bring you there." Everyone naturally knew about the Everlasting Sect. In fact, they even knew more about it than Zi Chen. After hearing what Zi Chen said, some of them were overjoyed. The old clan leader asked, "Clan leader Zi Chen, there might be an Earth origin realm martial artist from the Thunder Clan guarding outside. How should we leave with so many of us? I have my ways. If you've decided to leave, go pack up your things and bring your cultivation resources. Then we'll seal this place and leave," said Zi Chen. After that, things went surprisingly smoothly. Everyone prepared to return and collect their cultivation resources. Suddenly, a powerful aura came from the horizon. Looking over, they saw dark clouds surging in the sky. That was demonic qi. A large group of devils had arrived. Devils. It's the devils. They're here again. The Lei clan members' expressions changed. They returned and stood behind Zi Chen. Zi Chen looked at the dark clouds. His perfect spiritual sense had already detected that it was a group of devils. Their leader was a late-stage mortal origin realm devil. Zi Chen had seen many devils, but this was the first time he felt such dense, demonic qi. The density and purity of the demonic qi was almost on par with that of the sky-rending battle ape. An oppressive aura came from the horizon. This aura caused the Lei clan members' expressions to change again. Lightning energy had a natural suppressive effect on demonic qi. However, it wasn't absolute. When demonic qi reached its limit, it would suppress lightning energy. Such was the current situation. A group of over 20 mortal origin realm devils, followed by an army of core origin realm devils. The leader was wearing black armor and was 2 meters tall. He wasn't considered tall among the devils. He only had a single horn on his head. His eyes were blood red and emitted a terrifying light. He didn't deliberately release his aura, but it was already extremely oppressive. This was an extraordinary existence among the devils. His combat power wasn't much weaker than a human's spirit body. When he saw Zi Chen in front of the Lei clan, his red eyes were filled with killing intent. There was still some distance between them. He shouted, "You're Zi Chen." Zi Chen looked at the group of devils and didn't say anything. "Rumor has it that you've killed a spirit body. Is that true?" The devil approached and asked again. His voice was loud and cold. Before Zi Chen could think of an answer, Lei Ming beside him said loudly, "Of course, and there's more than one of them." The devil clan youth snorted. "Regardless of whether it's true or not, you must have some skills to be able to slaughter a group of origin realm devils. I'm Emily. I'm here to give you a chance to join the devils. If you agree, we'll withdraw. If you refuse, this place will be razed to the ground and this small world will cease to exist. With just you," Zi Chen said coldly. The devil clan youth laughed. "Of course I can't do it alone. However, I have the Devil Clan army behind me. Destroying this small world won't be a problem at all. As for you, you might have some methods to escape, but I want to say that even if you escape, you won't be able to survive. There are Earth Origin Realm devils waiting for you outside. Chapter 1040. Chen and the rest of the Thunder Clan had already guessed that there was an Earth Origin Realm expert guarding the small world. But guessing was one thing, and hearing it with their own ears was another. Everyone's eyes fell on Chen, waiting for him to make a decision. Chen looked at Emily, then at the Dan Origin Realm army behind him. His expression didn't change as he said indifferently, "Don't worry about it, everyone. Go back and prepare." His calm words gave everyone a great deal of confidence. Those from the Thunder Clan were originally worried, but now they were all completely relieved. After that, the crowd left one after another to collect resources. "Clan leader, do we collect all the resources?" asked an Origin Realm Thunder Clan member. The old clan leader pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, "That's not necessary. Just take what you can and leave the rest here. Maybe we'll come back here one day." After a pause, the old clan leader said, "Speed up." All the humans left, leaving only Chen. This made Mo Li's expression extremely ugly. Obviously, Chen had ignored him and the army behind him. But thinking about what the Lord had said, he suppressed the anger in his heart and said to Chen, "Human, it's time for you to make a choice." Chen looked at the Origin Realm demons. His gaze made their hair stand on end. Emily asked, "What are you looking at?" Chen took a deep breath and said, "I'm looking at how many of you there are and calculating how long it will take to kill all of you." The Origin Realm demons' faces changed. Emily shouted, "Shameless boasting, you're courting death." As soon as Chen finished speaking, he rushed toward the demons. Lightning surged around his body, revealing a fierce killing intent. "Don't be afraid, everyone. We have more people. Let's work together." Chen rushed over. The Origin Realm demons were a little flustered. Emily shouted to calm them down. But before he could finish speaking, the sound of chanting rang out between heaven and earth. Hum! This was the power of the 6-syllable mantra. It was originally an extremely sacred and vast syllable, but at this moment, it was full of killing intent and demonic nature. Compared to this 6-syllable mantra, the devil chi and killing intent that surged around the Devil Clan was really weak. As soon as the mantra was spoken, a strange and powerful force came out along with the murderous intent. The surrounding human origin stage, cultivators, all coughed up blood, and their eyes lost focus for a second. "Is that so?" Immediately after, the second word of truth appeared, and the strange power vibrated again. Yes. As soon as the second and third words were uttered, the light in the eyes of the Yuan Realm demons, who were coughing up blood, completely dimmed. One by one, they fell to the ground. With just 3 notes, he had killed a large number of demons in the human origin realm. There were also quite a number of demons in the core realm who didn't have time to retreat. This powerful combat power shocked the other survivors. After blocking the 3 notes, Mo Li's aura became unstable. He roared and shouted and attacked Chen crazily. Rolling devil chi appeared in the sky, and with an inexplicable pressure it shrouded Chen. Light flashed around Chen, and his figure dodged the devil chi. He entered the crowd of Yuan realm demons again, and the 3-syllable mantra appeared again. Hum, ma, and I. The frequent use of the 3-syllable mantra killed a few more human origin stage cultivators. As for the core realm army, because they ran fast enough, there weren't any casualties this time. Chen's killing method was somewhat shameless, but in order to prevent the Thunder Clan from suffering any casualties, Chen could only carry out an individualistic slaughter. He killed these human origin stage cultivators first, so that the other demons wouldn't immediately launch an attack that would destroy the small world. Once he was done with the human origin stage cultivators, Zichen's next target was naturally Emily. Humans and demons were mortal enemies. This principle might seem simple in the eyes of others, but for Zichen, it had to be carried out. In a short period of time, more than half of the human origin stage cultivators were killed or injured. The rest retreated far away, looking at Zichen in horror from afar. "Stop! Stop! Fight with me, you despicable human." Emily wasn't as fast as Zichen, so he kept shouting behind Zichen. When there were no more human origin stage cultivators around Zichen, he turned around and looked at Emily with a mocking smile. "Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish." Zichen turned into a streak of golden light and rushed toward Emily. Two streaks of light, one gold and one black, collided in the air, causing an earth-shattering explosion. In the midst of the collision, the two retreated, but as soon as they adjusted their positions, they rushed at each other again. This was a powerful collision, and the sound it caused was like thunder. After the two collided 8 times, the black light was finally defeated and was sent flying back, coughing up blood. The demons are the strongest. Lee's expression was ferocious, and his body was covered in blood. He was at a disadvantage every time they collided, and he had completely gone berserk. After a loud roar, his body doubled in size. His original height of 2 meters was now more than 4 meters tall, and the aura around him was even more violent. Again, I don't believe that the Power Demon Clan's power can't be compared to a mere human like you. This was the source of Lee's madness. He was from the Power Demon Clan and was known for his strength and physical strength. He was one of the best among the demons, but today he was no match for a human. Lee clenched his fist and punched at Zichen. This punch contained a terrifying power, and even the air was shattered by it. However, Zichen was able to deal with it calmly. He also clenched his fist, and a golden light flashed as he met his opponent. Boom! The pitch-black fist and the small golden fist collided. Golden and black light scattered in all directions, causing the space to distort violently. Zichen's body shook slightly, but he was able to stand still in the air. On the other hand, Emily was pushed back 7 or 8 steps. This time, Emily was defeated again. However, he was unwilling to give up. In terms of attack power, he might be weaker, but he could continue to fight. Zichen had not met such an existence who dared to fight him head-on for a long time. At this moment, he was excited and wanted to exchange a few more moves with his opponent. Boom! Boom! In the sky, the sound of collisions continued to be heard. Crimson blood rained down. Every time they clashed, Emily would be at a disadvantage, and every time they fought, he would be injured. Looking at Zichen, who had been fighting until now, his face was not red, and he was not out of breath. Emily looked at him as if he had seen a ghost. One had to know that up until now, he had consumed a lot of energy, and he felt that he could not bear it anymore. However, Zichen did not seem to have used up any energy at all. Usually, when Emily fought with a human of the same level, he would usually end the battle with a few punches. However, at this moment, he had already thrown out dozens of punches, and the battle was still not over. However, the outcome had already been decided. Emily had been completely defeated from the beginning. After this fierce battle continued for a while, Emily finally could not bear it anymore and became out of breath. Zichen also finally had some energy left, but compared to Emily's, it was almost negligible. The Thunder Clan had finished collecting the resources and returned. Seeing that Zichen had defeated his opponent, they all began to cheer. After another blow, the two separated and stood on opposite sides of the sky. Looking at the panting Emily, Zichen said, "All right, the show is over. You did well, but they have arrived. I don't have time to play with you anymore, so I'll send you on your way now." As soon as he finished speaking, Zichen rushed towards Emily. Even without his lightning wings, Zichen's speed was still the fastest. At least he was much faster than Emily. In a flash, he appeared in front of Emily, raised his hand and punched out. A golden fist light illuminated the sky, carrying with it a domineering aura. At this moment, Zi Chen's figure seemed to have become incomparably imposing. This was a domineering punch that combined strength and origin energy. Naturally, it was very powerful. Emily roared and punched out as well. Pitch black, demonic energy surged. Previously, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows, and each time there was not much difference between their attacks. This time, although Emily felt that the power of Zi Chen's punch had increased, his own punch had also been enhanced. However, after the two fists collided, Emily realized the true power contained in Zi Chen's small fist. The powerful force was like breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, breaking through the demonic energy on his fist. Immediately after, the force entered Emily's fist. First, there was a loud bang, followed by a cracking sound. The former was caused by the collision of energy, while the latter was caused by Emily's fist and the bones in his arm being shattered. Emily screamed in agony as he was sent flying. Up until now, the two of them had fought fiercely. This was the first time he had suffered such a serious injury. In the distance, the demons were also in an uproar. The two of them, who had been evenly matched just a moment ago, suddenly had a huge gap between them. However, Zi Chen's next move told the group of demons, as well as Emily, that the gap between the two of them was very big. It was so big that even if Emily was one level higher, he still wouldn't be able to make up for it. Crack! Emily's other arm was easily shattered by Zi Chen. Under the pain, Emily screamed again. When he was sent flying again, he saw the ruthless killing intent in Zi Chen's cold eyes. He couldn't help but shiver. At this moment, he truly understood how powerful Zi Chen was, and felt the true gap between the two of them. Therefore, when his body smashed into the ground again, he activated his secret technique. In the deep pit on the ground, black light lingered and demonic chi surged. Zi Chen originally wanted to go down and take a look, but after seeing the demonic chi, he hesitated. With his perfect spiritual sense, he felt that there was something wrong with the demonic chi. Zi Chen hovered in the air, watching the demonic chi tumble and surge. After about 3 breaths, the demonic chi began to dissipate. After another 3 breaths, the demonic chi completely disappeared, revealing a huge pit below. However, in the pit where Emily should have been, there was no one. Gone again. Zi Chen looked at the deep pit, flustered and exasperated. In just one day, he had already encountered 2 cases of mysterious disappearances. Moreover, both of them had disappeared without any warning. Outside the small world, a black light flashed. Then a figure fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground, causing a huge tremor. Emily, the one who fell was Emily. At the place where Emily had fallen, there were many demons guarding it. Among them, a tall demon rushed towards Emily. The tall demon helped Emily up. When he saw that many of Emily's bones were broken and his arms couldn't be raised, a monstrous killing intent surged from his body. Is this Zi Chen's doing? Chapter 1041. The middle-aged demon was in the Earth Origin Realm. As an Earth Origin Realm cultivator, he shouldn't have paid attention to a mere Human Origin Realm cultivator. The difference between the Earth Origin Realm and the Human Origin Realm was like the difference between heaven and earth. Other Earth Origin Realm cultivators wouldn't have cared, but this middle-aged demon was one of the first to enter the human world. He had once been stationed on the ancient road and led the demons against the ancients. He had heard an old friend mention Zi Chen and praised him greatly. However, it was said that Zi Chen had died in the Thunder God Palace. At that time, his old friend had sighed. His old friend had said that Zi Chen had extraordinary battle strength. Among the demons of the same level, it was almost impossible to find someone who could match him. Without seeing Zi Chen in person, no one would believe such words. The middle-aged demon was the same. However, after hearing Zi Chen's name, he was moved. Thus, before Emily entered, he gave him a life-saving measure. It wasn't just a life-saving measure, but also a means of attack. However, the prerequisite was that Zi-Chen had to be with him. However, during the battle, Zi-Chen's battle strength was terrifying. It was far beyond Mo Li's expectations. Mo Li didn't deliberately bring Zi-Chen into the demon Qi for two reasons. First, he was afraid that he would be killed on the spot. Second, after seeing Zi-Chen's means, he was afraid that the demon Qi wouldn't kill him even if Zi-Chen killed him. With the help of the tall demon's demon Qi, Mo Li quickly regained consciousness. He first coughed up blood. After a while he said, "Zi-Chen is very strong." "Strong? How strong?" The tall demon was enraged. He released a sharp aura around him. Mo Li glanced at his brother. After thinking for a while, he decided to tell this proud brother the truth. He said, "Very strong, even stronger than you." This was an ambiguous answer and not a specific one. Mo Li thought for a while and added, "Much stronger." "Brother, don't underestimate yourself. He's just a human. Even if he's strong, how strong can he be?" "Human spiritual bodies are already at the peak," said the tall demon. "But he's killed spiritual bodies before. That's only a battle rank kill. If it were me, I could do the same." "Oh, right, brother. What's his cultivation level?" "Middle stage of the mortal origin stage." Hearing this, the young demon was full of confidence. He humphed coldly and said, "Humph, he's only at the late stage of the mortal origin realm. I can definitely kill him." Just as the demons were preparing to surround the small world, a group of Thunder Clan members had gathered in the Thunder Clan small world. Under Zi-Chen's suggestion, the Thunder Clan first sealed off the pocket dimension. As for the demon race, they had long since escaped after Mo Li. The minor world was sealed, and the old patriarch gave Zi-Chen a jade pendant. With the jade pendant, he could break open the minor world and leave. Zi-Chen nodded. Just as he was about to lead everyone away, he suddenly thought of something. "Senior, does the Thunder Clan have an ancestral land?" Zi-Chen suddenly asked. "Yes, clan leader Zi-Chen," the old clan leader replied. "Take me there." "I promised a senior from the Thunder Clan that I would send him back to the Thunder Clan," said Zi-Chen. The old clan leader followed Zi-Chen to the ancestral land. Along the way, Zi-Chen told the old clan leader about the situation, and the old clan leader sighed. The Thunder Clan's techniques had been lost, and many of the Thunder Clan's experts had gone out to search for them. However, only a few of them had returned. The others had obviously been buried somewhere else, and their bodies were nowhere to be found. In the ancestral land, Zi-Chen opened the purple gold gourd. Specks of light appeared and fell on the land of the ancestral land. The atmosphere in the ancestral land was extremely oppressive, and it gave people a sense of solemnity and dignity. After paying their respects, Zi-Chen and the old clan leader left. The Thunder Clan's experts were all waiting here. Then, Zi-Chen used the purple gold gourd to store them all. Zi-Chen's gourd had formed a space of its own. Not to mention the Thunder Clan's experts, it could even accommodate a small world. After everything was done, Zi-Chen put away the purple gold gourd and flew out of the small world. When Zi-Chen's figure appeared in the outside world, the small world was completely sealed. The jade pendant in his hand also shattered. Next, if he wanted to reopen the small world, he would need the help of the Thunder Clan's experts. It would take a lot of effort and time. The sky was pitch black, and Xingqian couldn't see the moon. Zi-Chen raised his head and frowned slightly. Under the pitch-black night sky, he could feel an oppressive and dangerous aura. "Die!" Suddenly, a loud roar came from behind him. Zi-Chen didn't hesitate. He turned around and launched an attack behind him. A golden light shone in the pitch-black night. The light hit the air, but it hit nothing. Pung! A trembling sound came from behind. It was Zi-Chen who had suffered a sneak attack, and his entire person was sent flying out while staggering. This attack contained an extremely strong force. Zi-Chen was ambushed, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His figure flew for a few miles. After stabilizing in the air, Chen turned around, but there was nothing behind him. At the same time, he released his perfect spiritual sense, but it was still useless. This place was like a pitch-black night sky, and Chen was the only one in the night sky. What the hell is going on? Chen looked around, but he couldn't see anything. Human die. The roar came again. This time, it came from behind Chen. Chen fully unleashed the power in his body. He turned around at lightning speed, and then launched a close-range attack behind him. In an instant, Chen attacked dozens of times. The golden light kept flashing, but he missed every time. Chen felt a pain in his waist. The protective energy around his body was shattered, and a strong force came. This time, Chen didn't fly out. Instead, he used his perfect strength to dissolve the energy attack. He turned around again and launched a series of attacks. But he still missed. Haha, it's useless. Today is the day you die. Loud laughter sounded from all directions, making Chen unable to distinguish the direction. This is an illusion, an illusion. Chen's eyes suddenly turned gold and silver. He activated his yin-yang eye. Like the delusion breaker eye, the yin-yang eye could see through illusions and all illusions in the world. But under the yin-yang eye, it was still pitch black above his head. This was still a pitch black world. How can this be? If it's not an illusion, then where are the trees and earth below? Chen, who found nothing, felt deeply confused. He didn't see any trees, mountains, earth, or rivers. He had already concluded that he was in an illusion. But there was no illusion that the yin-yang eye couldn't see through. Even the illusion of the Buddhist sect was seen through by the yin-yang eye. Chen die. The same shout sounded again. This time, Chen was very smart. He didn't turn around, but took a deep breath and prepared to launch a combo attack. But he felt pain on his back again. It was an attack. This time, the opponent really attacked from behind. There was a large wound on his back and golden blood flowed out. But Chen still couldn't see the attacker's shadow. Chen's face turned cold. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never encountered such a situation. He had never been in such a sorry state before. "Who is it? Come out," he said with a cold face. Haha. Loud laughter sounded. "Don't stay in the illusion if you dare. Come out and I'll beat you up." Chen said again. "Illusion? You said this is an illusion? Haha. You really haven't seen the world." Chen frowned. "What? Is this not an illusion? You really are an ignorant human. You don't even know the world of the Earth realm." This was an extremely important piece of news, enough to make Chen's heart tremble. The world of the Earth origin stage. Chen had seen many Earth origin realm warriors, and he had even seen Sky origin realm warriors. He knew that Earth origin realm warriors were powerful enough to kill him, but he had the 9 extremes array, so he was not afraid. In his opinion, Earth origin realm warriors were just another transformation of the Yuan Dan, making it stronger. But what was going on in the world of Earth origin stage? The Earth realm cultivators start to control the rules and create the world. This is something that a little human like you can never understand. The voice sounded again. "You are in the Earth realm." Chen frowned and asked again. "Ignorant kid, if I was in the Earth realm, I could crush you with one finger." At this moment, in the space where Chen was, there was a demon standing in the air. This was the Earth realm demon from before, the middle-aged demon from before. He stood there, but it was as if he was the master of this world. The space within a radius of a few hundred meters was completely under his control. Chen's yin-yang, I could not see any clues because this was a real space, other than the Earth realm demon. Mo Lee's brother was also in this space. These attacks were all from his hands. Outside this world was a group of demons. They had already surrounded this place so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Currently, this world was still transparent. It was still borrowing the power of the Sky Martial Continent space and rules. It was impossible to create an independent world. So when the surrounding demons saw Chen's appearance, They naturally also saw Zi Chen's miserable appearance. They all laughed loudly. In their eyes, Zi Chen was like a headless fly flying around randomly. He thought that he had flown dozens of miles, but in reality he was still flying in circles within a few hundred meters. The injuries on Zi Chen's body were increasing, but he still couldn't touch the devil flame. However, the devil flame couldn't immediately kill Zi Chen. It could only leave a lot of injuries on Zi Chen's body. Gradually, Zi Chen stopped running around randomly. He raised his head to look at the sky and asked, "So, you are not in the earth realm but the human realm. This is also not your world." A very smart human. Unfortunately, knowing this point is useless. In this world I have absolute power, but you are just like a blind person. I can kill you in a matter of minutes. The reason I let you live now is because I want to torture you a little longer. The voice in the air sounded again. Is that so? Zi Chen's face suddenly had an indescribable expression. Following that, the gold and silver light appeared in his eyes again. He had activated the yin-yang eye once more. The yin-yang eye could see through illusions. Zi Chen firmly believed that the yin-yang eye could see through illusions. As long as a human realm demon was in this world, as long as he wasn't the master of this world, he would definitely leave behind traces.